So we are seeing XRP really trying to push for these two prices. But yeah, it does seem like a lot of millionaires are right now going either way. So XRP right now has been absolutely crazy. I haven't gotten much sleep because XRP is exploding at this point. It's something we never saw before. So yeah, let's check that out.
Trillion OMG. Ethereum breaking out, and XRP, we need to be a little bit careful right now.
Yeah, so XRP is trying to push for $4. The issue is a lot of people have now bought it again and are probably going to be selling it as well.
Hello, beautiful people. Shalom, money makers. Massive crypto whales are regretting selling and coming back in. We'll talk about all the stuff, the latest and the greatest crypto news this Saturday night. All I ask from you is that you give me a beautiful smile to send out those good vibes. Smash that like button. Let's try to get 8,888 likes on the chain link.
So look at this. Every single market is moving today. Very good news for anyone holding crypto, but we still have room to grow, right? I feel like this will be a one push or a two-time push. So 2 more pushes before we get possibly punished by the high tax, by the whatever scenario happens that will actually crash crypto.
Do very well. We're seeing Ethereum do very well, and we'll get to Ethereum in just a second. And it's a very interesting situation right now in the market. We are seeing that there are a pump in XRP futures. So a 24-hour volume jumps 200.
Just remember, guys, what I told you. The biggest thing that we're seeing right now for crypto is that whales are coming back, especially Korean whales, which is what I've been talking about on this channel. Now, I try to stream as much as I physically can to show you what's going on. A lot of people just see the XRP prices pump, but they don't realize why do they actually pump? Why do they go up? You know, it's a very specific scenario that people don't understand. And here's where XRP, I feel like, will really win in the next few days, right? Because right now XRP has been waiting for the price momentum. It has been waiting for more buyers, and right now it's getting more volume, more talked about than any other crypto. So this is a great start for XRP.
8% to 12.4 billion, overtaking Solana's 9.6 billion. Open interest climbs to 5.9 billion.
So this just tells me that XRP might be the biggest winner of 2025. It already was the biggest winner of 2024. We still have a few months to go that could really push it out for another victory. So remember, guys, it is always just the peak moment that we see all this volume before we finally enter the big momentum. You know, this is what we wanted to see. And this is what we're seeing right now.
While positive funding signals heavy longs, one sharp drop could trigger a wave of liquidations, right? And we need to be careful with this because, as you can see, if we look at the 4-hour chart here on liquidation heat map, Ethereum shorts got squeezed a little bit, but on the last hour, you can see XRP is second with 1 million on the long.
So yeah, a lot of these whales which have sold their XRP, they are having a big problem right now, and they are actually losing a lot of money. Hey there. So how's it going today? So smash that like button if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. But it does seem like XRP is getting bought out right now, you know, by the big whales. But what I fear is $3.5 is when the whales could start dumping it again.
Getting liquidated. So it's kind of a mixed bag here today. You know, some are down a little bit, some are up a little bit. If your portfolio is diversified, then you're feeling it less. Disclaimer, I do have some leverage positions on some of the assets like Chainlink that we talked about, Ethereum, XRP. And, you know, it will be interesting to see what happens here because there's going to be many people that are talking about, you know, are we in altcoin market or are we just in Ethereum, you know, market? But, you know, it's not alt season when
we're still in very, very early stages, in my opinion, of basically Ethereum still pushing before we even see the XRP pump. If we are still coupled with Bitcoin and Bitcoin is tanking, does that mean XRP is going to tank as well? Yeah, if Bitcoin tanks, XRP will as well. But the good news is XRP is moving on its own way. It's moving before any other crypto. That's where, it really does win in the long run, because the altcoin market has not started yet, and we're already seeing it pump so much.
Alts are down 47% against Ethereum since April. If you look at it, Ethereum is at its highest point.
That's the way we see markets move. Corrections.
Since 2021. Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah,
so Ethereum is catching up to Bitcoin, and it's catching up to XRP, which both have, surpassed where they were in 2021. So it will be very interesting to see where the money goes right now, because it feels a little bit like liquidity is getting sucked out into Ethereum. It could be that people are, especially leverage traders, maybe are selling their XRP positions, taking profit, and now moving over to Ethereum. And once that happens, so you see this kind of $1 million liquidation. And then you see on the flip side, which is interesting, longs and shorts are getting liquidated on Ethereum there over the past hour.
So yeah, Ethereum was bought out the last few weeks by the big institutions. And I feel like the XRP ETF is what's really going to push these institutions to buy, or at least start buying, because we have been waiting for institutions to buy for quite a bit, right? But they didn't want to do it. Why? There's Ethereum ETFs, there's Bitcoin ETFs. That's why you have so many inflows. But we are still waiting for that big pump. That's why I'm so hopeful about basically XRP ETF. What's happening, everyone? Thank you, everyone, for joining this channel as well. I really appreciate it.
And then it's a kind of a mixed
We're
bag.
seeing basically the
so
same
it
patterns.
will be very interesting to see how it plays out. It's going into Sunday fun day. Sunday is a very tricky day. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But we are going into a CPI week, which a little bit concerns me, although some people that I have been following are telling their followers that they are accumulating at these levels. We'll see. Again, I'll never tell you to buy, to sell, or to hold, because I don't know what is going to happen day to day. If the market is going to go up or down, if a specific asset is going to go up or down, if news comes out for a specific asset. So when you open a position, you take the risk.
I feel like
that
people right now way overestimate on, they're way too worried if crypto is going to go down. There's no indication. During the coin season, if we couple with Bitcoin, will we pump even though all the coins are pumping and we are coupled with Bitcoin? I feel like even if Bitcoin stays the same right now as what happened in the past, altcoins went up. Even if Bitcoin went up 3%, XRP went up 20%, 30%. That's where XRP can really win that long-term momentum that a lot of these altcoins are not seeing like before. So yeah, XRP definitely has a lot of more potential here for growth. There's way, way more that we could be seeing. It is just the start of the altcoin market.
It might go the opposite direction. Like I told you the story a while back, I opened a leverage position on SUI, and then suddenly they had a hack, right? Like 3 minutes after I opened the position. How could have I known? No way, right? And so, things happen, and I have learned in life that you always need to be cautious. And I had a stop loss, right? But it got like in 3 minutes, it got caught, right? The stop loss. So you never know what's going to happen. And I always have that monkey on my back, where I live and what's happened over the past few years. So be careful out there. Make sure you understand the risks and rewards of the crypto market. But long term, I'm in a totally different space, and I'll tell you a story. If you watch all the way to the end, you'll get the story. 37 trillion.
All right, so interesting. Total US debt has officially crossed above 37 trillion. Again, I'm not too sure why this would be so important for the crypto markets, because yes, we're seeing the debt rise, but hasn't the debt even been rising since any of the crypto markets? So if you really believe this debt increasing is going to affect anything, it will not. The government sold 724 billion in treasuries through 10 auctions. That means the government still has a lot of money that they could put into crypto. Again, they could put tons of money into the stock market, and I'm not totally afraid of the US government debt. This is just something that you can never avoid.
Later. I don't know what happened. Supposed to be autofocus. But anywho, or maybe I need new glasses. I don't know. It's been like 15 years since I did the LASIK surgery, so maybe I need suddenly glasses. I don't know. But total U.S. debt has officially crossed above 37 trillion for the first time in history. This puts the total national debt up 780 billion since the debt ceiling was raised following the signing of the One Big Beautiful Act into law in July 4th. This is an average of $22 billion per day. It continues to go.
Look at this. Immediately as we had the debt ceiling rise 2021, we saw the markets pump, right? 2020, we saw like the markets pump. We are seeing the debt ceiling now. This is when every time this debt ceiling rose, we saw another major price bump. So this is going to, what this shows me is this is just good for the market. Like right now, the economy is doing great. XRP is doing great. It's really not that much to worry.
XRP could have its ups and downs again. Ethereum having a strong moment right now. And what's interesting, a few weeks ago, Arthur Hayes, one of the crypto pioneers, right? Someone that created BitMEX and has been there, since almost the beginning.
Buy ETH back at higher price. So I feel like, even $8 million, they just don't care. There's plenty of whales who sold their XRP. I can tell you plenty of whales that bought it back at $3. Like they bought it at 30 cents and sold it, maybe at $1, and now they're buying back at $2. It's just the way market works, right? So not every trade, millions of dollars, is profitable.
He sold about $8 million worth of Ethereum a week ago. And 4 hours ago, he bought it back at $10 million. So he lost almost $2 million on the trade.
I feel like there's a lot of traders that will lose out now because of the new altcoin rally.
To just help you a little bit and make you understand that everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's going to have losing trades. Everybody's going to have a whiff and a miss. The main goal, my main goal, is to have a situation where I don't.
The U.S. government has over 500 trillion natural capital assets. That is very well said. Yeah, the U.S. they have 500 trillion. So even if they put like 10 billion into crypto, imagine how much money is that. So yeah, right now the U.S. government could put even if they put 10 million, 50 million in crypto, I feel like a lot of businesses will follow after this government update.
I don't wipe myself out and be left with nothing because I went, for example, too heavy on leverage, or I went into a meme coin, a very low market cap meme coin, and it gets rug pulled or something like that, and it happens. It can happen. And you can go all in on a specific asset at the top and it drops 90%. We've seen that happen again. And then you panic sell.
That's the thing with Ethereum. It's going to be hard to drop 90%. It can happen for sure. But the reason why Terra Classic fell is because of a bug in a code. Going from 90% now is going to be much, much harder than maybe pre-lawsuit. That's why I feel like that, XRP now has more potential. It is much more safer investment. Again, it comes with its own risk. That's why a lot of institutions are not buying it yet. It doesn't have an ETF, which makes it harder for institutions to buy. But the good news is right now it is safer. It is also giving less returns than maybe 3 years ago if you bought during the lawsuit, during the worst times. But there is really a lot of potential here for it being the next store of value, especially with technology developing.
And you're out of it. My dad also told me a story. We were talking about 401ks, and he told me a story about someone that he knew that his father had to retire exactly in 2008, and the market dropped 20-30%. He was down like $1 million, and he cashed out his pension, right, his 401k. And he lost all the money, right? Because he sold, he panicked. It took a while for the market to recover. It took like 4 or 5 years. But if he would have waited, he would have had potentially that $1 million back, but he wouldn't have been able to, retire, or maybe you've had to wait. So we never know what's going to happen. Again, this is a situation that we don't know. We don't know. Every single investment is speculation, okay? And what happens is many times people freak out when they make a mistake or something goes against them.
Yeah, so keep steady, like just be safe. think about this is there is obviously going to be correction, and I'm going to be keeping you guys updated about that. I love keeping you guys updated. So just don't panic. Don't panic even if we drop another 20, 40, 50 cents. Ethereum is going crazy. It is just the way the markets move. Sometimes there are some markets that have, a heads up that grow more than others, but it doesn't make me too afraid because we are literally seeing, if people are buying Ethereum at the prices right now, like at a loss, this is a very good signal. Again, it means the markets are pumping, and maybe some of their analysis is, look, 0 out of 30 bull market peak indicators have hit so far. So we literally have more room to grow here.
Of this, and you think about where the market is now, and only now the second largest crypto has got back to where it was in 2021. It's not even at all-time high, but it's at similar value that it was in 2021. It's a new local.
I feel like also the issue a lot of people forget is inflation. So in 40 years, we got a lot of inflation. So you got to consider that. XRP, everyone's saying $3.6 is the new high. It is not. The new high for me personally, XRP, inflation included, which according to my calculation is $4.2. So don't get too excited when we hit 3.6 again, because we still are like $1 off the all-time highs. I just want to be completely frank with you guys, because right now inflation has been very brutal. Once we hit $4, $5 XRP, that's when really XRP goes out of its way, like it should be, like it deserves.
High, of course, breaking 4,000 and breaking that resistance. So now you're going to have a situation where Ethereum might be getting closer to all-time high. New money might be coming in, and listen, we can't beat around the bush about it, but what happens sometimes is people come and they enter the crypto market, and then they're like, okay, I don't want to invest in something that's, low cap, because I know I've heard the horror stories, but I want to invest in something, maybe a top 10. And then they come to the top 10 and they're like, oh, Bitcoin, 116,000. No, I can't afford that. Ethereum, oh, that's still expensive, 4,000 for one. They look at XRP and it's at $3.24. And they look at that and they say, oh, it's cheap, right? And so, oh, you know what? I'm going to buy some XRP. That's what people might say to themselves. Although we know, right, maybe some Doge.
This is a very common notion that the people will be trusting the top 3 coins and they will be buying not Bitcoin, not Ethereum, but XRP. It is very common from what I have heard that people do not understand market cap and instead will go for XRP, which has a way smaller market cap, but has also store of value just like Bitcoin, but also has tons of utility coming in. This is why people really trust it, because it is not just one thing that saves, XRP. It is 5, 10 of them, partnerships, news, marketing. All of this stuff is going to help XRP in the future. Now, altcoins are just getting started, and I feel like XRP is going to have another nice momentum just coming up, which is what a lot of people did not expect. But right now, everybody, all of the big institutions are also secretly buying XRP from what I have seen. We already saw the big acquisition yesterday, so that's one thing. But it's coming right now. They want your XRP. Look at this. This is big, guys. They are secretly buying XRP now. As I have told you guys that these institutions will come in like last week's 3 weeks, we are now seeing this happen in real time.
Preparing to file a spot XRP ETF anytime soon. We're going to take a look at that information. But first, Bill Morgan posted this. It looks like Ripple got another win other than the SEC and Ripple victory. It says, but alas, scams. Ripple had another win with the SEC immediately ordering an exemption from the bad actor disqualification arising from the permanent injunction. Now, I know this sounds like a...
So, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of stuff we don't know about the SEC case that we might find out like years later on, because the lawsuits, they're very extensive, especially if they took 4 to 5 years. This is something I'm going to be keeping you guys updated. But I feel like there is so much that we need to uncover. Way, way more than you guys think. Like, institutions will probably reveal this to us in a year or so. But I'm going to be keeping you straight and real on this channel. about that when it happens.
A lot of mumbo jumbo to you, but I'm going to explain it into really understand context, and we're going to get into this. I also have a ton of other Ripple and XRP information in this video, guys. We're going to have a hell of a time. Let's get into this. So here is the document, United States before the Securities and Exchange Commission. You can see that the date is August 8th. Now, instead of reading all of this, I just threw it into Perplexity and I said, like, what is this about? What happened here? And here is the background. The SEC filed a lawsuit against Ripple Labs in December 2020, alleging violations of securities laws, specifically Section 5 of the Securities Act of 1993. The court ruling was August 7, 2024. The court issued a final judgment, permanently banning Ripple from violating Section 5. This judgment included an injunction, especially a court order restricting specific future activities by Ripple. The appeals and settlement, both Ripple and the SEC appealed this final judgment, but later settled. As a part of the settlement, Ripple requested the court dissolve the injunction, but the court denied it. So the injunction technically remains in effect. Why does this matter? Bad actor disqualification under the SEC rules. Here's the rule 506D. If a company like Ripple is subject to a court injunction for breaking securities laws, it's labeled as a bad actor. This could hurt Ripple's chance of getting a banking license or getting some type of spot XRP ETF approved.
So yeah, this is another legality. Basically, to sum up why this matters is because XRP has been having no partnerships with the lawsuit, no big partnerships at least, inside USA. I'm talking about the billion-dollar partnerships, guys, and that is why they're requesting also for this, which basically means that if someone wants to work with you, they will not have a bad reputation hit because of this lawsuit alone. Like this will not affect future deals or something in the past. That is the main thing that, this means. So it's a very important factor that XRP needs if it wants to have big money deals with transfers.
Anything could hold in the balance here. This label disqualifies Ripple from using Regulation D exemptions, often used to raise capital privately, such as with accredited investors, without full SEC registration that can severely restrict Ripple's business activities in the United States. Enter the SEC's immediate decision as of August 8, 2025. Despite the permanent injunction still in place, the SEC immediately granted Ripple an exemption from bad actor disqualification. This means that the SEC judged that given the facts and the prior court's likely willingness to dissolve the injunction had parties requested earlier, Ripple showed good cause for exemption. In short, Ripple can still access securities exemptions like Regulation D as if it weren't subject to the bad actor label.
So yeah, reputation is very important when you're dealing with banks. Again, banks are going to be looking for someone reputable. And now with that done, this is literally one step closer to getting those big partnerships that Ripple deserves.
Why is this a win for Ripple and XRP? Ripple is not being blocked from major financial activities, often hindered by the bad actor status. This removes a huge regulatory roadblock for Ripple's future fundraising and partnership opportunities here.
That's exactly what I told you guys. If they want to have big partnerships, they have to start clean slate, which basically means this 5 years of lawsuits, they have to put it behind them and go fresh, like a fresh start. And they're basically asking the court, we don't want this lawsuit to hurt our future reputation. And I know it's a very silly thing, but you're going to have a lot of fact checks when you're doing a $1 billion deal, and they're going to see this lawsuit maybe 10, 15 years from now, and they're going to say, okay, we don't want to work with you because you had this lawsuit. And XRP basically filed that now that we won this lawsuit, we want to basically start fresh. We don't want anyone to say that this lawsuit potentially to get a better deal or an advantage, or even just like not get a deal with us because we are still an amazing product. That is the main thing here, but it's definitely a big win that Ripple got. I feel like, they would get it anyway if they won. It's still a thing that most people don't realize, and it's a very, very important factor as well for Ripple. It's just another one of those small wins that can slowly push it up to high prices. So yeah, remember that.
In the United States, by extension, it's seen as a positive for XRP's broader adoption and legitimacy, since Ripple is the main company building on the XRP ecosystem. So just to summarize this all for you, Ripple faced a permanent injunction from the SEC, which usually triggers a damaging disqualification, which is bad actor status for securities exemption. The SEC immediately waived this disqualification, allowing Ripple to continue normal business activities. And this is interpreted as another win for Ripple and indirectly for XRP, as it keeps the door open for future growth, partnerships, and market confidence. So that was a huge thing I don't see many people talking about. So I'm glad we got to address that and talk about it here. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below. I'm not an attorney of any kind, but I'll do my best to see what I can do to answer those. Okay. And then of course, Stuart Outright says, following the commission's vote today, the SEC and Ripple formally filed with the Second Circuit to dismiss their appeals. The end. And now back to business. All right. So here is that information about BlackRock. So Nate Garassi owns an ETF store and actually has connections at BlackRock. He says BlackRock immediately calls.
And again, guys, I talked about why BlackRock and XRP are indirectly right now connected, but they are not working yet. But there is very big hints, again, allegedly, that BlackRock is working in some way, or not, I couldn't say working, but looking to work with XRP, or at least looking at its technology. At least if one of the employees goes there and checks out the event, it could mean something, could mean nothing. But BlackRock immediately calls me out, says no to plans at this time to launch spot XRP ETF. This will be looked back as a mistake. BlackRock, which currently lists and trades Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum, said it has no plans to list an XRP ETF or Solana ETF. But I feel like this will happen. It did get delayed. This is the big moment, the big push that could really, make BlackRock, which could make it like go one step up. The issue here, however, is why it hasn't been done yet is because BlackRock wants this lawsuit to be completely over, which it already is. And for a second part, it wants to see what XRP does in the next year. Does it rally? Where does it go? I think that's a very important factor. Also, BlackRock is looking, and they want to be careful in playing their cards right.
Me out. Says no plans at this time to launch a spot XRP or SOL ETF. In my opinion, this will be looked back as a mistake. We shall see. And so here is the thing that he was talking about. BlackRock, which currently lists and trades Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs, said it does not have plans for an XRP ETF or a SOL ETF at this time. BlackRock does not have any plans to file an XRP or SOL ETF, a BlackRock spokesperson told the block on Friday. Now, we've all seen in the past where institutions will say one thing and then the next day they will do something else. They have the right to do those types of things, but they are giving some guidance right now saying as right now, they do not have the demand at BlackRock to do this. The reason BlackRock got into Bitcoin and then Ethereum was because their customers were asking for it. That's why I ask you on this channel, if you should have a BlackRock account or you're at one of these
it could be also that they don't want to reveal, to the competitors. Like, why would they reply to the email if they're going to list BlackRock, right? Because if they're going to list XRP ETF, why would they tell, that they're going to do that? So this is like told the block, right? This is a news company. But telling this is going to be maybe bad for the competition. Like, competition could see that and they would rush to launch an XRP ETF before them. So I literally don't feel like any benefits why they would announce it until it's ready. Maybe they're still waiting for legal issues because the other XRP ETFs were delayed and BlackRock wants to file then. So, maybe they have NDAs. It's a very important thing that a lot of people don't talk about, that this will not immediately get resolved. This will take time. But BlackRock ETF is the main thing that people are asking for.
SOL ETF. In my opinion, this will be looked back as a mistake. We shall see. And so here is the thing that he was talking about. BlackRock, which currently lists and trades Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs, said it does not have plans for an XRP ETF or a SOL ETF at this time. BlackRock does not have any plans to file an XRP or SOL ETF, a BlackRock spokesperson told the block on Friday. Now, we've all seen in the past where institutions will say one thing and then the next day they will do something else. They have the right to do those types of things, but they are giving some guidance right now saying as right now, they do not have the demand at BlackRock to do this. The reason BlackRock got into Bitcoin and then Ethereum was because their customers were asking for it. That's why I ask you on this channel if you...
Also, volume is very important. I feel like they're still looking if it's really worth it, like to talk about it. So yeah, just realize that might take some time before that actually happens. Like we might need a few days or a few weeks or a few months because they're still looking if people will buy XRP. I personally think so because right now XRP is traded so much, same with Bitcoin and Ethereum. But in my opinion, non-professional, non-financial, from what I understand, it would be very wise for BlackRock to list XRP ETF. It would be a win-win. First off, institutions would buy. Maybe they're waiting for the crypto bill to be over.
You should have a BlackRock account, or you're at one of these institutions, sending an email or calling your broker to telling them that you want these products can go a long way. You have the power, you have the voice. Now let's use it to better, push forward XRP in general. And so I did want to get some information of why BlackRock did Bitcoin, Ethereum spot ETFs. I'm going to actually leave a link to all of this data in the description if you want to get into this yourself. I just don't want to go through all of this, but I know some people will find this helpful. That's why I'll include it below. Now, Mood Lambo says BlackRock announced it currently has no plans to launch a spot XRP ETF. They have ceded territory in regard to this gigantic opportunity, and their competitors must be thrilled. BlackRock will...
I feel like a lot of people got frustrated, but they file for within a year. Like why would they tell someone that they're not gonna buy it, right? It just makes no sense to me why they wouldn't list it. I feel like it's gonna be before a year, but it also makes total sense from a business standpoint. Why would they tell random people, yes, we're gonna file it and it's gonna be awesome, right? They want to reveal it. They want to launch the marketing. They want to do it properly. That's why it hasn't happened yet. But again, this isn't based on facts, but it is based on my opinion and just common knowledge. Same thing we saw them saying this about Bitcoin, Ethereum ETF when people were asking about it. There was none of that. And now we're seeing it, now we're seeing the other side happening. We're seeing it finally go up.
One day regret this and likely course correct as XRP increasingly because a dominant force in the crypto space. I think there's a little misspelling there. All right, no worries. They'll arrive, but they'll be late to the party. And then Digital Asset and Digital Perspectives, Brad Keim says they're bluffing. So obviously there's people in the space that believe BlackRock is just kind of saying this for show, and they're really maybe behind the scenes planning to do this. Now they could change their mind at any moment and go down this route. I do believe eventually we will see it, but it is going to require their customers to stand up and ask for these things. And I hope my content allows you to have a voice and have power. And I know most people probably don't even think about this, but sometimes you put the idea out there, people will say, hey, I can send an email. I will call my broker. Or next time I'm talking to my broker, I will ask about these products. And
I feel like they have people paid, with thousands and thousands of dollars that they just pay to look at the data. They don't rely on emails. So that's my opinion, is like they really just look at how much they can get from the volume, and that's why they list it. People requesting it is obviously very good, and it's not bad at all, but that's not the real revenue growth that BlackRock is expecting. BlackRock is $1 trillion company, so they will take proper time to actually list that.
I believe me, that'll go a long way, and I'd really appreciate it if you could do that. All right. Now, John E. Deaton, the attorney for the XRP community and other crypto advocates, of course, he says what this means, Ripple can continue to raise money in their private markets. One might even argue it's business as usual, and it's just the lawsuit against Ripple and the $125 million fine never happened. Now, remember this, I should have had this post earlier here. I do apologize. I was going to actually talk about this in the middle of the video, but I thought that this was so important that I moved it to the front, and ADHD gets me all the time. I forget to do stuff. All good though. All right, here we go. This is from X Finance Bull. If you want to follow X Finance Bull, there's the guy's information. He said Deloitte just confirmed it. XRP is driving Europe's payment revolution. You have SEPA, the single euro payments area, and then you have TIPS, real-time settlement. Ripple's already in the system.
Yeah, I feel like that's why they bought the 200 million company, right, guys? We talked about yesterday. Just entering this company is gonna push them to get more networking right now. So if you buy a $200 million company, you don't just buy the technology, you also buy the whole system. You buy all the marketing, all the connections that they could have to make better deals.
Option is not a theory. Understand all of this at financebull.com. Yeah, drop your website. All good though here. Stay ahead before the crowd wakes up. Just so you know, I don't know what this is. So, please click or do anything at your own peril, at your own risk, all right? I'm not saying to do this. I don't have no idea what this is. I was just reading through the thing. All right.
Okay, key driver in SEPA instant changes in Deloitte report. So yeah, they're already saying Ripple is going to be the main thing. Again, Deloitte, which is one of the big companies, right, saying this just further shows that crypto is not only bought by retail and it's really going worldwide. Anyone in finance has probably heard about XRP now, which is really good news for XRP because this is, the next big thing that people are waiting for. The report places Ripple alongside Bitcoin as a transformative technology driving this digitalization. So again, crypto used to be something for fun. I really feel like utility is going to be the driver of the future bull markets. I could be totally wrong, but it did not do that before because of the lawsuit. That's my opinion. And now with the new pumps that we're seeing, I feel like it's really utility. So why are other coins like, for example, HBAR or HBAR actually rose? So this confirms my theory. There's some coins that did not rise, that are based in the US that have not arisen yet, but literally every single utility coin in the last month has pumped. So I was right on that when I was calling it a month ago. We saw all these coins, which are literally utility tokens, basically double in price. So yeah, just let that sink in. Also, XRP went up 30%. As I was saying to you guys, that utility tokens, in my opinion, are going to be the main factor because the US government is going to try to go something with utility in crypto, not just speculative assessments, just like 2024 and 2021 meme coins were.
For real-time payments across Europe, the 24/7 availability, the market accepts payments to the available around the clock, which pushes the adoption of mobile wallets and instant transfer solutions. Ripple's technological change. Deloitte's mentioned the report places Ripple alongside of Bitcoin as a transformative technology, driving digitization in European markets, a sign of mainstream recognition. Near real-time settlement, Ripple's XRP ledger and payment solutions are considered efficient alternatives to traditional payment rails like Swift.
So yeah, you don't really have any other alternative than, Swift. It's either Swift or Ripple. It's neither in between. So which one are you going to choose if one is cheaper and faster? Just think about it. Of course, XRP, right?
Allowing near instant fund movement between banks and institutions. Of course, we know about the lower cost. Ripple's tech can significantly cut cross-border payment and wire transfer costs, especially for corporates and financial institutions.
Yeah, corporates are having a lot of transfers, which means probably thousands or millions or tens of thousands of dollars saved for them.
Regulatory backing, the TIP system, European Central Bank, ECB, and the ECB TIPS, which is the target instant payment system, is referenced as a pan-European network supporting instant euro settlements between banks in real time. I've shown a lot of connections.
So yeah, next 2 to 3 years are definitely going to be amazing for XRP. 7.5 million payments per day. That is about 0.1% a day, and you're going to be using XRP to burn that. That is going to be tens of thousands of XRP dollars or XRP burned per day. So tens of thousands burned.
Payments per day of around $1 million on average. If you decided to use something like XRP for those payments, not only would you save billions of dollars per year, but you would also get rid of some of this nostro vostro kind of stale money in bank accounts all over the world, as well as you could actually put that money to good use inside of the bank. And
XRP, I feel like, is going to profit from it from the partnerships. That's the first thing. And second thing, XRP is going to do those token burns that it has been, teasing about.
Inside of the town, neighborhood, or whatever country that bank is in. So for instance, if a bank has money tied up all over the world for, all these Nostro Vostro accounts, if they could get that money back, think about the home loans, personal loans, business loans, student loans.
Also, banks are not used for payment contracts yet with something that XRP enables. So for example, we see right now in the future potential is you could literally buy a farm just by sending it through the bank. So potentially there are going to be on the ledger, in theory, you could buy the land and basically get ownership of it. That is the future of tokenization. It is pretty crazy when you think about it. It is in very early stages, but XRP wants to be the first to do that.
All these types,
just like browsing Amazon, you can just click and buy a house.
Of services that they could, start to gin up and offer. This could help GDP growth in whatever country that was able to grow that in. And of course, people would be a lot happier and they would have more access to money. One of the biggest problems around the world is businesses don't have enough access to capital, and this could definitely help solve those issues. Also, card and cash alternatives with the EU's push for full digital payments. Blockchain-based platforms such as Ripple are seen increasingly viable for both retail and wholesale financial flows. So this does solve, not just institutional problems, but this solves retail problems as well. Why this matters: Ripple and XRP's credibility being identified in Deloitte report alongside of the ECB systems further boosts Ripple's institutional credibility and adoption potential for XRP in Europe. The impact on adoption, regulatory support. We talked about the D2 and tips, and of course the growth in the ecosystem. Now, there's a little bit more information I wanted to just show you really quickly. Ripple did just tweet this report out today, August 8th. This will come out tomorrow on the 9th on Saturday. Tokenization isn't a trend. It's reshaping global finance. Here's how real-world assets.
That's what I told you guys. Tokenization is another part they are putting their money into. XRP is about 900 employees. It's a whole company. It's a whole movement. And they are putting their money into basically buying and using all these stocks digitalized. Everything is on the internet now. They're trying to push to have real estate. They're trying to push to have stocks, whatever you want on the internet, and buy it on the internet as well. And it all wants to be through XRP ledger, which would be lots of money coming through.
Are moving on chain with secure institutional grade custody across regions. It's talking about treasuries and money market funds in the EU and the USA. It talks about agricultural receivables, expanding rural access in Latin America, trade finance and structured lending in Southeast Asia. And it does talk about real estate tokenization with Control Alt and Land Department on the XRP ledger. Now, here is their entire breakdown and report. I'm going to include this in the description so you don't have to go and float around the internet to find it. I will also include some of the research here from Perplexity of why this is important. Of course,
so yeah, it's very important to also know that, this is in very early stages for XRP as well, which is good. It is good that it's in early stages because it means they could be the first ones. They could be basically the next Amazon or Walmart in terms of development to actually push through here, right? So being the first is definitely something that they have been planning for a while. And BlackRock is one that's also doing this. So if BlackRock is doing this, again, $1 trillion company, they definitely know something.
Talk about the instant settlement, secure storage and management, 1 million wallets deep, FX market coverage, right? We talked about that just a few minutes ago with the FX coverage of 90%. Talking about all these different currencies, real estate, tokenization pilots, major projects with Colombia, land ownership, Hong Kong, property, back-end lending. Remember, this is HELOCs, get an instant HELOC. And Dubai title deeds leverages Ripple custody to facilitate secure, scalable, and programmable asset markets on the blockchain. The reason why this is really important, these are kind of like proving grounds, testing grounds for the rest of the world. If Ripple can prove in Colombia, in Dubai, and in Hong Kong that all of this technology works, then they can mass scale it and mass produce it for the world. Now, look at what's interesting here is you don't see Ripple kind of repeating what they're doing, right? They're doing real estate tokenization pilots with Colombia, right? Land ownership. In Hong Kong, they're doing lending, right? Back-end lending. And then in Dubai, it's title deeds. So they're attacking the whole real estate market here with these 3 different examples.
And this is just the beginning. There could be like not only property, but this could be around the world, right? These are just the start. So buying like titles on XRP Ledger, again, if you send a transfer, it is going to make a lot of money in terms of burning XRP. We have been talking way a lot about this on this channel. So I definitely have more videos on that. But Ripple custody to facilitate secure, scalable, and programmable asset markets on the chain. Again, that is what it would help a lot of people just there's so many papers that nobody uses anymore, or so many transfers. Everything is going to be on the internet in the future. It's going to be much faster. It's going to handle those 15,000 transactions per second that Ripple is doing right now. And it's going to offer a lot of money
about that can be tokenized and traded on blockchains. Also, stablecoin access and on and off ramps enables easy fiat integration and
yeah, so look at this. XRP price is about to go crazy. It's about to completely blow up. This is from Steph's Crypto, which I wanted to show you guys. It is a lot of money. And here someone said, I have 700K of XRP cashing out at $5. Good luck. I'm not too sure, but I mean, it's pretty insane if he has that much amount of XRP. But it definitely seems like that XRP is about to break out from these patterns. I previously didn't believe these patterns, but sometimes we can see this happening just like in the past.
Is getting close to a major breakout higher in the market, and we are getting close to a huge altcoin season since Ethereum broke out from a multi-year resistance line. So in this quick video, I'm going to share my overview, my exact price targets, things that I'm currently seeing in the market for XRP, for altcoin season, everything that you need to know. So let's get straight into it. First of all, don't forget to like the video. Can we get this one back above 1,000?
So yeah, XRP has been good. Anyone buying XRP has been in a green rally, but is it gonna go further? Because if there's someone that has, 500K XRP and they want to sell at $5, can it actually raise that momentum? In my opinion, is yes for a while. So let's check what exactly this means.
Likes, I would appreciate that. Let's get into it. So guys, first off here on the right hand side, you can see XRP's price action on the 4-day chart, and on the left hand side we can see Ethereum's price action. Later in the video I will give you my Ethereum price targets, because I believe that we're getting very close to a huge altcoin season.
So yeah, he's been talking about when we're at 75, that's the time where the markets might crash a bit, right? But we're at 41 right now, which still means there is room for growth for XRP, which is really good for anyone holding XRP, because XRP, as you know, guys, joined Bitcoin. So that's the main thing. It joined Bitcoin's gains this year and last year. And now it's going to join altcoin gains. Nobody's talking about this except me on this channel. Is that literally XRP's gains right now were free because of the lawsuit. They were given because the lawsuit was over, right? So you're seeing right now that XRP has way more potential here, because if it joins other altcoins on the rally, wow, it would be very good, right?
Which started here on the 22nd of June, and we are right now on the verge of breaking this bull flag to the upside. Keep in mind, this is the 4-day time frame, so it will take a little while here for us to confirm this breakout. But if we confirm this breakout, guys, then I have a massive price target in mind. Let me share the target with you. So if we take this entire flag pool and if we place it at this exact point here, then we can see that the price target is somewhere around $5.40 for XRP. And to give you perspective from our current position, this is a massive move to the upside of above 60%.
So yeah, 60% is definitely going to be very hard to hit 60%, in the XRP space, but never say never. It is definitely possible that we go to, $5 if we already went to $3. Like if we went from 50 cents from November to literally in 3 months, 4 months, $2.4, what's stopping it from going to $6, for example?
Huge opportunity right now here in the crypto market, and it's not just with XRP, it's in the altcoin market in general, because as I said, Ethereum just broke a multi-year resistance line, which literally has been in play since 2021. So I'm going to share the price targets with you, but first off, we can see that.
So yeah, Ethereum is rising, but I don't feel like Ethereum is connected, yes, to the altcoin season, but the most important thing is everything, all of these coins are its own market, right? XRP is its own market. Ethereum is its own market. Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for smashing that like as well. I really appreciate it. But yeah, it does seem like that people expect Ethereum to, because Ethereum has grown, that XRP will suddenly follow. It could happen, but they both have their own cycles. So just like Bitcoin saw a big move this year, we could be seeing XRP seeing a massive rise this year. Look at what happened in 2018, 2017, right? Bitcoin season was like an entire time. Now we're finally seeing altcoin season possibly starting.
To do with the massive breakout that we're right now seeing. Also, if we take a look at the altcoin season index, we're still not in an altcoin season, as you can see over here. Typically, you want to be extremely bullish when we are close to 25 on this meter, and you want to sell your altcoins or lock in profits whenever this meter, this index goes above beyond 75, because
it's also possible we don't even hit 75 this altcoin run, and it goes back down. That's also a very big possibility. And I also feel like a lot of people rely way too much on what happened in the past. Again, in the past, it was way different. You didn't have crypto like that. You didn't have it explode and pump like that at all. It was way different.
Historically, when this index goes beyond 75, we tend to see, I would say, at least a multi-week or a multi-month correction in the altcoin market. So pay close attention, but right now we're just sitting at 41. So there's still massive growth to go higher here in the altcoin space for altcoins. Another super important metric to look at is actually the MACD indicator on the daily time frame for XRP. The MACD measures momentum, and we can right now see a bullish flip or a bullish crossover on the MACD. And the last time that we had this was in June, and price surged significantly to the upside. So are we about to see something similar this time around for XRP? I think there is a pretty good chance for that to happen.
So this is exactly as my point, as I was saying, that it's gonna rise in September, guys. The charts show exactly as I told you guys. September is when the months are really gonna start moving. Again, yes, we're seeing movements now in August, but September is really where I am hopeful. September, October, November is usually historically where cryptos really, pump and go up.
I think there is a pretty good chance for that to happen. Here you can also see it from a different perspective. We have this bull flag breakout, which is right now getting confirmed. XRP is testing previous resistance into new support. So I expect massive continuation higher here in the coming days and weeks for XRP. You can also see that the main target to break above right now is around $3.40. If we break this level with at least a weekly candle, then I expect continuation forward to $4.50 and maybe even $5 or.
So yeah, I feel like once we really see that push, it is gonna be down to ETFs to decide how much this is gonna really make it explode
beyond here in the next days and weeks for XRP. And as I said, guys,
this is gonna depend so much on where also we see the push go for the actual ETF. So if the ETFs are approved, $4 is going to be much easier. But again, we are still waiting for BlackRock, which could happen this year. I definitely think they're going to list XRP as ETF, but I feel like they're waiting also to see the trading volume on other platforms, which have been happening again in September, which further proves my theory that September is going to be the big month for XRP. And yes, we might see it, August go XRP up a bit, but the ETFs is what I'm really counting on for the price chart momentum, for that real price chart, the big pump that, people have been talking about. Because imagine ETFs will allow access to millions and millions of dollars of random companies to buy XRP. Right now, it's not possible. I still feel XRP is under tapped slightly, and I feel like with more technology, more people will start to notice its power. So that's the important factor that people don't realize here, is how much there is a potential to actually go to higher breakouts. But again, there is a lot of bullish momentum, which is also why XRP is seeing a lot of money. Even billionaires are talking about it, like Tom Lee. Tom Lee has been very vocal about XRP. So yeah, literally, he's been vocal about Ethereum, but also about the crypto markets in general, right? And one of these things is XRP set to ignite next crypto rally. Ripple SEC agreed to dismissal ending XRP lawsuit. And a lot of people have predicted this is going to be the catalyst for the next big crypto pump. And that is exactly what we're seeing now. This could be the catalyst to see the big pump happening.
Some information about Paul Barron's post here about Rail. We talked about this in a video that was coming out today on Friday, but let's get into this information. Let's go.
Well, in 2017, when we first wrote about Bitcoin, we recommended 1% to 2% into crypto. That has been 100x for our clients. Today, we're saying if you're starting 5 to 10% is appropriate for the median investor. If someone's younger and they can let time work in their favor, then 20% or more makes sense. That's consistent with the BlackRock mathematical calculations. And again, I think there's still a lot of upside. Just keep in mind, Wall Street is running into the blockchain.
Okay, check this out. You're talking to investors 6 years ago in the crypto space. They were telling you, hey, maybe put about 1% or 2% in the crypto space. It's still a very nascent asset class. It is still developing. Be very careful. Now you have financial advisors telling customers, hey, if you're a little bit younger, you can put up to 20% into the crypto market. If you're a little bit older, maybe 10%. But now we're talking about astronomical numbers, 10 to 20%. Can you imagine where the...
So yeah, that is possibly billions and billions of dollars coming into the crypto markets. And this is what people have been waiting for. They weren't sure if crypto markets are here to stay because we saw what happened in 2013. We saw what happened in 2015. Now we are hoping for crypto to stay for many years ahead. 5, 10 years, XRP staying here would be very detrimental. And that is why Trump is pushing to open for these retirement funds, because he believes that crypto and Bitcoin have basically going to be staying here. Also XRP. I feel like with the lawsuit over, it's going to be hard for it to, just disappear. It could disappear definitely, but it's going to be much harder. That's why Trump is pushing for the retirement.
Conversation's going to
retirement assets, which are worth trillions and trillions of dollars. And again, 10 to 20% is much more than 3%, which means new inflow of money is pushing into crypto.
5 years from now, when tokenization really does take over the planet, is that going to be 30 or 40% then? Remember, younger people prefer to invest money into the crypto space over the stock market space. As the older generation passes down money or whatever it is to the younger generation, that money is going to go to one place. That is the crypto market. Now, if we're going to take a look at what we're talking about here, I did a video on this last week. You guys love this information. Let's just take a brief look about how much money is expected to come in. So we're talking about insurance companies, hedge funds, pension funds, brokerage firms, endowment funds, bank, sovereign, and wealth funds, family offices. Here is the breakdown. Insurance companies, 8.5 trillion. Hedge funds, 5.2 trillion. Pension funds, $56 trillion. Remember, President Trump just signed an executive order allowing 401ks and IRAs to be invested in the crypto market. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. But the issue is here, like that was not mentioned in this video yet, or has not been mentioned in this video, is this is a lot of money, right? This is trillions and trillions of dollars, but only a small percentage will go into crypto, and slowly this will expand. So that's the most important factor you can remember right now. There might be a small percentage right now of this, money, like banks, like 22 per trillion is not going to go in crypto immediately. But even if 100 billion or 1 trillion of that or 2 trillion of that goes into crypto, XRP could be exploding massively. It could literally double in price, especially with how much the government loves crypto right now in the US. Other countries might follow this pursuit.
Banks, 22 trillion, sovereign wealth funds, 9.6 trillion, and family offices, 5.5 trillion. Remember, the crypto market is about to go from about a $4 trillion space to a $100 trillion space over the next 10 years.
So yeah, I definitely feel that's possible. I feel like we're going to go slowly first to 10 and then exponentially explode, because the first, 1 trillion is always the hardest. I know it sounds kind of insane, but the next 10 trillion is going to be hard. 100 trillion is going to be easier, because you always have more money coming in, especially, with crypto now being regulated. A lot of people can finally buy into it. You couldn't even buy XRP 5 years before. You could not buy it on an exchange. So right now, crypto is becoming more and more mainstream, in my opinion, which is what makes it go for that final push to have a big potential for $10, $20. I feel like that's needed. Like, if you want to see crypto really grow, you have to see this first. You have to see the markets adapt and buy, and this Trump signing the crypto bills. These are just the first steps.
Crypto space, right? Bitcoin obviously is a lot higher. Ethereum is the second highest, and then here is XRP. But as the Ripple and SEC case is now gone behind us, right? As XRP ETFs become more of a mainstream financial product here in the United States, I'd imagine that 5% could...
I feel like it has to also catch up a bit, because it was not mainstream for 5 years because of the lawsuit. Now, after getting listed on exchanges, more and more people are finding out XRP, that's still a thing. Now they're getting back to it. And we're finally catching up to something that should have been popular 5 years ago, in my opinion, but that's completely fine. And this is where it really matters, is this year, next year will be most important for crypto, especially the next few months.
Tick up to 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10% over the next few years. So if XRP just represented 5% of all of this income, this value that's going to be coming into the crypto space, let's see what that actually does to the price. Now, if we're talking about a 1-for-1, which means $1 coming into XRP on inflows to $1 change in market cap, we are talking about $1.48 trillion. But I've shown you time and time again that inflows and outflows don't equal a 1-to-1, change. So right now we're looking from anywhere from 100 to 600x market cap multiplier for inflows and outflows to XRP to market cap change, which means if I gave a $1 into buying XRP off the open market, that would change the market cap either $100 or $500 to $600. It's kind of a wild number. It's because there's not a lot of liquidity in these tokens. And
so, yeah, I feel like a lot more money will be coming in the next few years. Another thing you have to consider is right now, XRP is still in very early stages, still in development stages. Once you can see banks starting to do these partnerships, which is right now in testing stages, we can push for, going basically them buying more XRP with ETFs. That's a lot of inflows that could potentially raise that capital to actually see XRP go to, $10 much easier. Right now, to go to, 100x, you're going to see a lot of outflows.
So just a 1-for-1, we're talking about a close to $30 XRP. But if we start putting on the market cap multiplier, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about some outlandish prices here. This is a 25x, 50x, and
Yeah, so XRP millionaires are definitely returning to be millionaires, right? Like, there's definitely millionaires in 90 days that were made. There's probably going to be more from the title here. The most important factor is like a 50x. Yeah, the market cap has to be 74 trillion, right? XRP market cap to see price of XRP $1,000. But there's a lot of money coming in, and I feel like a lot of people will be selling before $1,000. Like, these prices are just theoretical, and we would need to see the governments and the banks being approved and XRP being burned. If we ever want to go to like $500, we need to see the burns that XRP was talking about, how they will implement XRP for the transactions, which means trillions of transactions every single year, literally quadrillions or trillions or whatever you want to call it. That's going to be a lot of burns, even if it's 1/20th of a penny. 20 transactions is a penny. And then you have like dollars being burned every single day.
100x market cap multiplier on this $1.48 trillion. Okay. Now, if you understand how I got to this number, right? I took 5% of all of this, which, I'd imagine that a lot of this money, whether it's 10% or 20% comes into the crypto space. If XRP is destined to be one of the main blockchains of the future, why wouldn't it capture some of this money, right? That's my thought process, at least anyways. So now if we take a look at these prices on a 25x on that 1.48 trillion, we're talking about a $622 XRP. At a 50x, we're talking about a $1,200. And at a 100x, we're talking about a $2,500 XRP. This is before.
I think that won't happen because there's going to be a lot of institutions that will sell. But I hope it would happen, because if it does happen, imagine how many people would be happy about that, right?
For tokenization or tokenizing treasuries or staking availability, lowering the circulating supply. This is none of that. We're not talking about any of that. We're just talking about fresh inflows to market cap change. Now, eventually there's going to be enough liquidity where you're not going to see a, 1 in 500 change, right? You're going to see maybe a 1 in 50 or a 1 in 25 or a 1 in 10. That's going to be reasonable going forward. But in the short term, we're going to see some awesome multipliers. And if you take a look at the biggest companies in the world, here are the top 50 largest companies in the world. Remember, all of these companies are going to try to figure out ways to get involved too. Maybe they don't want to just buy Bitcoin and hold it long term, but maybe they want to take advantage of the stablecoin solutions, or maybe they want to take advantage of tokenization of, financial products, or tokenization of their services, right? A lot of these businesses like Oracle and Nvidia, they produce some products, but they also produce services that companies want to buy and use.
So that's what XRP is trying to do right now. It's trying to enter this big mainstream media, also mainstream media, I could say that, or mainstream products like NVIDIA, which are doing products every single day. They're trying to somehow, enter this trillions and trillions of dollars market, which we're not going to enter, 75 trillion, because it would mean it's bigger than NVIDIA, but it could enter, for example, like this all stuff you see here, Palantir. It's already very close to Palantir, AMD stock. It's already trying to enter like Netflix level stock. What I'm trying to say here is when they are working with banks, that is a lot of money coming in that could literally pump trillions. You don't have to sell, for example, graphic cards. There's plenty of ways to make money and plenty of solutions to do. And solving this big problem that banks have right now, banks are willing to pay a lot of money to actually pump it to another level. So to purchase initial $100 million of Ripple shares, buying XRP at applied US 47 cents per token. I mean, that would be definitely very nice for them, but we will see if this happens. So will they really buy 100 million of Ripple shares? Because that would be very cheap per token. They could just, slowly sell it.
Vivo Power to purchase initial $100 million of Ripple shares, effectively buying XRP.
So yeah, Ripple shares are basically, I think, the stock shares. So yeah,
at an implied 47 cents per token. Now, I didn't really quite understand what was going on here. So
I feel like if you have, Ripple shares or the Ripple stock, you could potentially get the XRP for cheaper, because the XRP is literally, from the company, from Ripple company, which they own a part of. So they could pay $100 million and get XRP for cheaper if Ripple sells it to them, because it's not a public company yet.
I wanted to research it, and here's what that research said. Vivo Power is purchasing $100 million worth of privately held Ripple Labs shares, not directly buying XRP tokens. The key mechanism here comes from Ripple's valuation and its XRP holdings, and are being considered together. Ripple holds about 41 billion XRP tokens, representing about 41% of the XRP supply. The deal values Ripple, not the current market capitalization of its XRP holdings, about 135 billion, but instead a much lower negotiated company valuation of around 19 billion. Now, I just saw some information that Ripple's valuation was somewhere around 15 billion. Is that saying that this is now up to 19 billion, or this is how they're figuring this out?
I don't think this will happen, because why would Ripple sell their tokens for cheaper than they could sell it on the market? So why would they sell it 6-7 times cheaper than they could just sell it on the market if they wanted? And again, they have billions of tokens, but that is their treasury. In case of an emergency, that's their treasury that they're talking about. So I didn't quite get this article either. And comes out to 47 cents, buying into Ripple as a company. So the important factor is they're buying the company, but not directly the tokens itself. So they're not getting access to tokens, but they are betting on the future of Ripple, and they're putting $100 million to that Ripple will go public, which they're getting the stock shares for a very cheap price.
Says by purchasing Ripple shares at this valuation, Vivo Power, is gaining indirect exposure to XRP tokens at an implied cost of 47 cents per token, which is far below the current market price of XRP. How does this discount work? Imagine Ripple's 41 billion held XRP tokens at today's market cap. That would roughly be about 135 billion. Vivo Power is buying into Ripple as a company, which is privately valued at around 19 billion. So yes, that is Ripple's kind of new evaluation that they're using for this model. Notice how it was just 15 and now it's 19 just a few weeks later. You get rid of the SEC case and all of a sudden, I'd imagine Ripple's value will continue to go up here.
Yeah, so this is like very theory wise, because right now Ripple is still private. So their valuation is not public yet. They don't have an initial public offering. They're still a private based company. And yes, they can sell their shares which is very much smaller than what it will be probably in the future, in my opinion, if it goes public, which is rumored next year. It is just a rumor though, which would be a lot of money. Setup allows Vivo Power to indirectly gain exposure to tokens XRP at major discounts to market price. But I don't really understand if they get these tokens. Maybe they can ask or suggest to sell these tokens. I don't think it will happen. Direct shareholders of Ripple recorded on Ripple's cap table. I feel like they get like a small percentage of the company, and basically buying as 47 cents couldn't be exactly right. I could be totally wrong, but regular market participants might buy XRP at the market price via exchanges, negotiating directly for Ripple equity. I feel like they're buying shares of Ripple.
Indirectly gain exposure to large escrowed
Like they're not going to sell the XRP shares, which a lot of people were very afraid about, like how Tom Lee is saying about this.
XRP reserves, leading to a dramatically lower effective acquisition cost per XRP compared to buying tokens directly. Now, this is very unique, and I'm glad I was able to explore this so I understood it better, and I hope you do too now. But I also want you to think there has to be other companies that are looking at this saying, what the hell are we doing? Why don't we have some type of strategy like this too? Listen, I know we're all thinking like the crypto space is kind of this nuanced small space, but it is growing into something much more powerful where all of the world's money, right? All of the world's financial systems will either be running on blockchain rails and stable coins and the tokenization of financial assets. This is all coming over the next, 1 to 2 decades. Now, we can speed this process up by working with our partners in different jurisdictions and countries around the world, making sure that everybody is on the same type of regulation and allows the movement of value. And as well as if you have like a home or a business and you're selling that via the blockchain, the recording of that sale and the new ownership needs to be recorded both in the legacy systems that have been used for decades, as well as the new blockchain rails. So imagine just the world is now waking up that crypto is going to be the future, something that you've known for quite some time, but the rest of the world didn't. And now all of that focus, all of that time, all of that money is heading right for us. And we don't know what to do.
So I definitely feel like if they bought 100 million, they definitely know something that we don't. Like perhaps a new huge partnership is coming out. Perhaps they did a research. So I'm really excited to see where this could lead off to. Again, bear with me here. It does seem like this 100 million deal is going to buy like a portion. I'm not sure why Ripple is selling their shares right now. Maybe they need more funding, more investors, but this could literally open them up in case something goes bad, right? This is going to be lots of money for them to save. 100 million is a lot of money that they could have, to be working for the next 5-10 years, or maybe even expand. It's a very good part.
Exactly what they're talking about here. And that way you don't get in trouble later. All right, let's get this. All right. Paul Barron says, case is over. XRP is set to ignite the next crypto rally. Ripple and SEC agreed to dismiss appeals ending XRP lawsuit. Ripple set to acquire Rail Financial, projected to process 10% of the global B2B stablecoin payments. Forecast is about $36 billion for 2025. Let's play the clip.
Rail is now joining Ripple. Rail has a lot of cross-border payment settlement. This only increases the coffers for Ripple. One note in this tweet right here is this one right there, and it's that we power 10% of all B2B stablecoin volume. And now that we've got Ripple, we're going to scale faster. So 10% significant by one company. And now all of that sitting in Ripple.
All right. Now, I did a video. I released this video yesterday. There wasn't a lot of time to super edit the video, but let me just show you what video it is. So if you're interested to learning about that, we of course have the content for you. So it's going to be this video right.
This right now, like it does seem like that Ripple acquisition matters for Ripple. It does seem like what I wanted to talk about here is more and more partnerships are on the way. Again, there is something that we saw yesterday, and now we have more news. Yesterday, we saw a $200 million acquisition from Ripple, and now they sold $100 million of their shares. So yeah, it does seem like Ripple is expanding, and they just gained $100 million by selling their shares. Maybe they're going to be worth more in the future. But what I really like about that is they're really thinking long term for a 5-10 years ahead. You know, Ripple acquisition matters for Ripple because they believe this is going to be the future of payments. Rails infrastructure enables cross-border settlements that typically take days via Swift, right? And Ripple wants to do that in seconds via stablecoins. Dramatic improvement in speed, crucial for business. So they're planning for businesses to enter crypto, which is exactly what I've been telling you guys. Rails platform brings virtual IBAN accounts, automated treasury flows, and strong compliance network, and possibly even partnerships, from my opinion. This is why they paid $200 million for it. I'm not sure if they paid $200 million cash or maybe they merged with them, like paid $200 million in Ripple itself. So, or XRP or whatever the payment they wanted to do, right?
Even infrastructures around the world, this is going to be a great partnership. Now, the reason Ripple's might probably be doing this is you've got to imagine that everybody's starting to wake up. Banks and institutions are starting to see like, oh, shoot, we actually have to have stablecoin rails. We need
so stablecoins are growing so fast that those who will, develop this technology first, those will get the most gains from the market. And that's why Ripple is already developing it, right? You want to develop a good product before it even becomes available. So yeah, I really feel like they are going extra step, extra mile to develop all this stuff for next year. That's why the price might be delayed in the short term. So let's check another video. XRP major acquisition, $400 million. Yes, $1 billion major acquisition and raises. Look at that. Classic Crypto made another video, but $400 million. And I wanted to talk about Digital Wealth raises $200 million XRP as Ripple expands payment infrastructure. So why are we every day getting more and more partnership updates? Again, Classic Crypto has been keeping it classy. But Digital Wealth, this is different than the Rail partnership we saw, is literally exploding right now. It is becoming the next big factor that we are seeing. And with so much money flowing around, what do you do with more money? You basically expand, right? And you try to make even more. So that's what Ripple is trying to do. It's trying to expand before the next big bull run. Definitely very nice to see.
And use the XRP blockchain. What if I told you you could raise money with it? It's a very efficient tool, and a tool it is because $200 million was officially successfully raised by Digital Wealth Partners. I'm going to be talking about that, Bitcoin dominance and beyond in this video, so let's get into it. So Digital Wealth Partners did their entire raise pretty much in XRP. $200 million is a heck of a lot of money. I mean, just straight up, that's a lot of money to raise in a cryptocurrency. Especially just...
It is a lot of money, but it seems like they're moving a lot of this money around. They also sold some. I feel like they're also prepared for any terms of bear markets.
Liquid capital for a raise. That is absolutely enormous. That is a big deal. Amazing stuff to see. This definitely sparks institutional confidence in Ripple's blockchain and, of course, their native token XRP. We've talked about institutions using XRP for various uses. This one here is 100% focused on the Ripple ecosystem, offering exposure to XRP and projects leveraging RippleNet's cross-border payments capabilities. So they're going ahead and doing the exact use case or supporting the exact use case that XRP stands for, which is exactly what we want to go ahead and see because that is injection into the XRP ecosystem. That is money and capital that's going to make it just as useful as Ethereum, which is exactly what we want because it is the institutional Ethereum. And that's really what it is. It's above and beyond the place to be when it comes to institutional adoption. So that's amazing. Ripple themselves also did something. This was on August 7th. So this was 2 days ago. They announced plans to acquire Rail, a Canadian-based stablecoin platform, for $200 million.
So yeah, I feel like we a lot of time talk about only the US profits. But again, Ripple is a worldwide company. That's why it's becoming big on all these other exchanges as well. Not just the small stuff, again, everything. It wants to win in everything. And $200 million deal is pretty big, but $400 million, like there's Digital Wealth Fund, literally an XRP fund I never heard about, just like $200 million coming out of nowhere. So yeah, this just shows me that Ripple is not afraid that we are going to be entering a bear market. This is very bullish. When companies do that, Again, with my experience with companies, it's usually because they want to get a further step ahead on the new market rally. That's just my opinion. They're expanding because they know they're going to be worth more.
They're going to be integrating their stablecoin technology into Ripple's existing infrastructure, enhancing its global payment solutions and cross-border settlement capabilities. I mean, that is absolutely huge when it comes to stablecoins, which is the main use case for Ripple. RLUSD will be a big deal for XRP. People are settling things on XRP. They're using stablecoins. That can only be a good thing for the long-term prospect of something like XRP. Now, I think that this is a heck of a lot of capital that is entering the XRP space. That is $400 million. I mean, that's 400.
So yeah, he's saying this will hit XRP space, but the most important factor is this will not hit XRP directly. This will hit Ripple. So that's what a lot of people miss out on. This is for Ripple development, which will indirectly help. But if he means the digital wealth media, that is $200 million fund, $200 million in fund capital and $200 million in the rail acquisition. So this is a big milestone. $200 million is a lot of money, right? And a $200 million XRP fund, raising that, which we haven't even heard about, is potentially why XRP now has plans to move really stronger. Again, $200 million. That is a lot of money. That is definitely why we could have seen these pumps. I'm not sure if this was announced a bit later, but if this is true, and I definitely feel it is because there's a source down there, right? So it must be, right? It is a very clear sign that XRP could be pushing for higher highs with $200 million in the fund capital. So fund capitals are basically, from what I understand, they could be holding someone's assets. I got to look into that, on who exactly bought it and why. I'll keep you guys that updated on that because I talked so much about Rail, but not really about this one. So potentially there's billions and millions of dollars still out there getting money somehow, somewhere, and we don't even realize it.
$100 million worth of fresh capital that's going to be injected into the infrastructure and longevity of Ripple's ecosystem, which I think is a really big deal. The main criticism that I found from a lot of people when it comes to XRP is, what do I use XRP for? Or why can't I just use stablecoins? And well, the fact is that stablecoins are going to be doing their settlement XRP. And just like Bitcoin is used for large transactions, people are going to be using XRP for large transactions. We saw it here, $200 million raised in XRP. That's a heck of a lot of money.
A landmark institutional. So let me check on that. Landmark institutional investment in Ripple's blockchain system. Funds will support XRP-focused products, signaling growing institutional confidence in RippleNet's cross-border payment solution. Ripple Summit list acquire Rail. So again, this is for future XRP products, as I predicted correctly. Successful raise of $200 million in XRP for its investment funds, marking one of the largest dedicated fundraising efforts to date. Move signals institutional confidence in Ripple's blockchain technology. Native token. The funds will be used to support investment products focused on a Ripple ecosystem. Exposure to XRP and projects leveraging RippleNet. So yeah, it feels like it is going to be developing, and that's what XRP is. It doesn't have that much utility yet. In effect, like what's on right now, what's alive right now. But that's what XRP is doing. It's trying to expand and add more utility, which in term could actually push up the price.
To have on XRP. I mean, they're going ahead and acquiring the companies that are going to make it possible to go ahead and build a tech that will rival stuff like USDC, USDT. So very bullish news, I mean, to say the least, coming at the same time as Bitcoin dominance plummets pretty much 64% down to 59%. That's a big deal for Bitcoin. I mean, that's just over the very, very short time frame that we've had this big altcoin boom. This is very interesting stuff. Ethereum has been pumping a lot. Ethereum is practically touching all-time highs, and XRP as well. I mean, XRP's been killing it. It's at $3.28.
Yeah, so $3.30 is still the range I'm at. I still feel that we're not super game changing, but the important factor is XRP is still preparing for the next year. XRP, this always happens before a major move. Don't get trapped.
Everybody holding X.
So look at this. XRP, this always happens. So Crypto Levi, what does he have in show for us? I always see these patterns like a small rebound for Bitcoin, but it really depends like is XRP really gonna like go for another rally? Because usually like you always see drops right before you see another rally. That's like very normal in the markets. You see some consolidation, and
thereafter, also known as a V-shaped recovery. Then we had the tariff announcement right here. Of course, we had a massive amount of red leading up.
like the tariffs, like XRP tariffs, now like everybody's talking about tariffs, we're literally going up in price. So the times have changed. When tariffs were like dropping the price, the community decided now if tariffs are happening, the prices go up. That's what the markets say, at least, right?
To that, followed by another V-shaped rally on the upside. Once again, the WW3 Iran-Israel situation. We had a massive red. Then
So yeah, I don't feel like these are just like a small dip before we see another market recovery. I feel like this is just, if you zoom out, this looks like a very normal chart. It's just that this year has been so amazingly profitable for anyone in crypto industry, for anyone in the stock market industry, that it's really trying, to push forward. It ignores this small time news. So that's what, this chart is. It is not any type of price prediction, in my opinion. It's not any type of, charts dropping and seeing trends. The most likely indicator here is just that the markets right now have been amazingly good. That's why it doesn't matter about this small time news, which is very big. But in terms of the market just reacts and goes back up, right? People still want to buy because they see unemployment rate super low.
show you guys this right here. Ethereum just hit $4,200 per coin. Shorts are currently getting liquidated. People's conviction is 100% getting rewarded right now, whether that be XRP, whether that be Ethereum. Now, what I am thinking is going to happen here based off of previous events is we are going to trade sideways for a little bit, right? It's not always up all the time. We do trade sideways for a little bit. When you look at a chart like this, it seems like pretty straightforward, but during that month-long period of time when nothing is happening, that's when a lot of people think that the bull run is over, and that's when they sell their cryptocurrency because they don't have the patience to wait for the next big liquidity cycle. And so what we just saw is the United Kingdom lowered their rates. The United States is getting ready to lower their rates in September. And of course, we also have ETF announcements, which are projected.
I'm really hoping for the crypto bill that, we're promised in September. So that is the real thing that is going to push crypto for all-time highs. I think everything else, it is going to be good, ETFs, but they're not ETFs from BlackRock for XRP, which would really, pump the price back up. These are the ones that will really change the big deal, when companies will be allowed to buy into crypto. That is the big money maker there. Of course, rate cuts are fine. We saw, crypto pump past rate cuts, but they're not like the biggest motivator of crypto pumps, in my opinion.
To come in September, which all of these things point towards the fact that more liquidity will be entering into the crypto market. If we grab previous examples, it becomes abundantly clear that these are all very bullish indicators. But I have a lot of people saying right now, oh, well, Levi, we just got a huge piece of news that we've been waiting for forever. Why isn't XRP hitting new all-time highs right now?
I feel like the news, like the price pumps, are very delayed.
Knew the court case was going to be thrown out. This is why in all of my videos, I wasn't ever talking about this. If you go back on the last 6 months, as if it's some huge catalyst event that's going to skyrocket the price of XRP. I never said that in any of my videos for one very important reason. It was already priced in. People already knew it was going to be thrown out. Gary Gensler got fired. He was removed. Or actually, I guess he resigned before he could be fired. But still, you guys get the point. And so what I'm going to show you guys here is the total 3 cryptocurrency chart. This is
so yeah, it does seem like to me that the markets right now are favoring what I could see exactly here is it is getting nice for anyone holding XRP, and it is going to be nice for the next 2 to 3 years with anyone in crypto, but especially in the next 2 to 3 months are going to be very detrimental. This stuff that we're seeing right now, I'm not totally worried about that. And again, not financial advice, not any risk or anything like that. I'm just reacting to the news. Right now, the news tells me, in my opinion, again, is that the prices are worth for people to buy more than ever, right? Even at $3.5 with the lowest unemployment rate in the world, people will still buy it. So yeah, people are still gonna buy it at $3.5. People are still buying XRP because where else will they put their money? And that's what they're doing right now. They're reinvesting, even at very high prices, because they believe the economy will not get worse. We were promised a bad economy for multiple of years, and when people realized that it's not going to happen in a good case scenario, they started buying back into the markets. And we're following this pattern of the most profitable years of 2025, 2026, and more people are going into crypto exactly when we could be seeing those returns. I feel like that's the main factor, but don't get swayed. Definitely August is still on, still going to be a bit rocky climb from here. It's not going to be immediate. It might take a few more days. Trump signing crypto though, again, this is where I feel like in the long run, it won't happen overnight. It won't happen in September, in my opinion. I feel like the next 3 years will be the most detrimental. So when you're thinking about XRP, don't just think next month. Think about 2-3 years. Depends on your goals, right? But I'm thinking like 2-3 years here.
So
even on this channel. So I'm really, really excited about that. There is another factor. XRP, are you seeing this? Listen carefully. Look at this. So XRP, are you seeing this? And XRP has grown here. Everybody talking about Ethereum. But this is the most important factor that I'm hyped about. Is like right now it is time for XRP to go back up if the Bitcoin dominance keeps dropping back further. Bitcoin dominance has been prevalent. It has been very strong in the last few days, for the last few years, probably last 3 years. And now it's finally, pushing towards downside. It finally stopped at 66%. So XRP will have room to breathe now.
It's dropping.
So yeah, that's the most important factor here. Is we were waiting for this, for Bitcoin to stop its rally, and people seeing, well, the market's seeing good now. Let's buy something else.
Dude, we're chilling at 3+. I'm so excited. This is great. All that money is eventually going to come for us. And what I told you the last 2-3 days, $4 XRP is going to happen. I believe that is my prediction for next month. So if you want to join me, click the first link down below right now. Sign up. Get up to 10,000 welcome bonus. Create your account. Put your email. Put a path. It's exciting to see Ethereum do well. It's exciting to make some money with ETH. I believe, guys, that it's not the end. And all the ERC20 tokens, right, including Shiba Inu, Pepe, all the ones, right? Look at that.
I feel like, yeah, people believe that there's going to be only altcoins are going to be having the same rise as 2021. I personally feel like these altcoins will have a weaker rise and the top 3 cryptos will have a stronger rise. Because what we saw in 2021 is way more retail investors than we see now. What do we see this year? Way more institutional investors. Why are all the crypto news about basically institutional investors, right? For a very clear reason. Most of them are into buying Bitcoin. We don't see them buying meme coins like Pepe or Doge. So I feel like those returns right now that we're seeing, XRP could still be there because it's still a utility token in US. That's where it fits in, right behind Ethereum and Bitcoin. But the main factor is, not retail as we saw 2021, which a lot of money was flowing in. So yeah, let that sink in. When you're talking about this big gains, again, I could be totally wrong, but I saw only, a few ones grow. I didn't see Solana grow as much as people are hoping. I did see, Stellar grow. I did see some other cryptos grow. So I'm hoping for more.
Beauty. You knew this was going to happen. We saw 3,300 at the beginning of August, right? Some people say, no, it's going to come down. But in reality, what a nice reversal about to be $1,000 higher. $1,000 higher, which indicates that Bitcoin dominance is dropping. We need the leader on basically DeFi, which is Ethereum, right? To be pumping and doing really well. Now, what is the all-time high? That's $4,800. All-time high, $4,800. That was put November 16, 2021. We're 14%.
So yeah, inflation, you gotta counter inflation. Just like XRP could be hitting $5. People are pushing for $5. And it's gonna meet a lot of resistance before it gets to $5. When it goes to $4.6, that's gonna be the real thing. Inflation is gonna really hit for it.
Away.
So yeah, if we hit $5,000 or whatever it is, like $3.7 XRP, I'm still hoping for more, at least like 60 cents more, because inflation in 4 years has risen still. Like the dollar is worth less in 4 years, which is very unfortunate.
14% down from that all-time high. Look at the all-time low 10 years ago, 42 cents. A coin that was worth 42 cents is now worth $4,200. Unbelievable. 42 cents is now worth $4,200.
I mean, you have to be very early and not lose the keys and stuff like that. That's the most important factor. There is a lot of risk when buying this stuff. And especially, you had to not sell it for 10, 15 years. A lot of people who, are talking about their gains, they didn't sell at 20 cents because they didn't need the money. But there's also a lot of people who have sold everything at 20, 30 cents. And then XRP went to $3.6. So you can't really think of it that way. I feel like crypto in general is still very early. So it is just the mindset you have to have is right now XRP, inflation, you got to consider that. And you can see here, bam. You can see, some of these coins are growing. But again, what do you guys notice here? XRP, Litecoin, XLM. Again, meme coins are not growing as much. And it's exactly as I predicted to you guys.
54% XLM. So those are the facts. I'm not telling you, okay, buy Pengu, right? I have it, but I'm not like putting Pengu as one of the...
So Pengu is like a one-off because it's I feel like they have a huge collaboration, which definitely makes it different from other cryptos. But you can see so many here. XLM, XRP are the ones standing out, right? And they're the big tokens.
One crypto to replace for these three. No, Pengu is a meme coin. That's not what I'm saying. Cardano, on the other hand, look at that, 27. So XRP did better.
So yeah, the reason Cardano is doing worse is because just XRP has been having more of these news cycles, and there's a lot of stuff that there's different between ADA and XRP, even if they're based in USA. But Cardano could definitely still catch up to XRP, just not like the same level of gains. I feel like XRP is gonna be 1 in a million meme coins right now. Like we are not seeing that for the next 4 years. So we see that every 4 years. 2021 was Shiba Inu. 4 years later, it was XRP. And maybe 2024 was Pepe. So just realize that this is not, fully so easy as people think.
See that? Algorand. Algorand is another big one too. So there's all these great cryptos, guys, that are beast and they're going to do really well. That's what I'm saying. If you're holding XRP.
I don't agree with that because I feel like, as I told you guys, there are other cryptos that I feel will do better than others, in my personal opinion. And I'm not telling you to buy anything, but I don't agree with this that, all cryptos will pump. If they would already. I feel like some will get left behind. That's what people miss out on. 2021 was way different than what we are seeing right now.
Look at that, bro. Like, you see that? Only 9% Q3 and so far 67% Q3.
Like that's very normal in stock markets. We saw that in 2021, right? Again, Oscar Ramos is correct on this, but I just don't see so many cryptos pumping. Maybe in altcoin season we're gonna see 1, 2, 3 pump, and then some of these might reach all-time high, might not. It's an unfair market, and I feel like XRP has taken a lot of these shares that a lot of people have sold and they put it into XRP from what I'm seeing. And that could be my opinion, right? Could be wrong on that, but that's what we saw right now. So yeah, feels pretty clear. Ripple, Chase is beginning. Ripple XRP time is running out.
Hello, everyone. The time is up and the chase is about to begin. We're seeing some pretty important, exciting, fundamental breakouts across the crypto market that we've been waiting for. And this is, a great sign for what is coming next for the market. But what I will say is XRP is actually continuing to remain relevant with more discussions about treasuries, whales slamming the buy button, and it looks like we're about to see some pretty exciting times. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell, it's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So I will say XRP was red yesterday.
Yeah, so XRP, immediately when people think it's the lowest dip, that's when we hear it pump back up. So just realize that sometimes that's how it happens in crypto market. When you expect the dip to happen, we see an immediate pump back up. So people were calling for $2 XRP, and I correctly predicted that it will never go below $2. XRP is key to QFS. Only the ISO will be the leaders. So yeah, that's what we're looking at right now with XRP. Is there has been, other winners in the crypto space, but I don't know if it will go for $2 for a long time. I'm really worried if it will go under $2 because we could be in a bear market. There's a lot of people that would immediately buy the $2 and they wish they would buy the $2, but they don't get it, right? And here's the main part.
One of few in the crypto market that were in fact red, and it had more so to do with the fact that the day before was so good that there was going to be profit taking. There was going to be longs that got too confident and tried to move too close to price and got liquidated. And that's exactly what we saw, right? Just to show you guys, over the last 24 hours, we had $10 million worth of longs liquidated. Even over the last hour here, we've seen more longs liquidated than shorts. But despite that, we are actually seeing some good movement in terms of price. We're right now actually building a little bit of a bull pennant. It's really small. I'm not going to even zoom in on it, but we're sitting just below that breakout point. And again, we're trying to create this next leg in the market.
Like, there's going to be a time where XRP will not be able to do these breakouts anymore. And that could be at, for example, $4. At $4, I know there's going to be a lot of resistance before $4. There's going to be a lot of people selling at $4. We're seeing that live data charts, $4.2, where people will, not want to buy it anymore. And it's going to be a big barrier. And you got to realize that is a real possibility.
Market. And what we did in fact get was an Ethereum breach of 4,100, which was very, very important. We have not breached 4,100 since last market cycle. And now we may get a little bit of a retest, like I've talked about in some other videos here, where we come down, we retest 4,100 again before trying to make a move. But it's a question of, what is the weekend trend going to be? Are we going to see some accumulation? It's about 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, and hopefully the trend is buy, right? But I will say, BTC trying to test the top of its trend here. It's making a good.
People are saying time is running out for XRP, right? And it's going to go to, $4. There's still sideways stuff. And even if you think about Ripple XRP, I'm really here for the long run. I'm really thinking about 3 to 4 years, what can happen. Because Ripple XRP is really one of those coins, no matter if it's a bear market or a bull market or the price is up and down, it will keep doing its own thing and growing. So yeah, just let that sink in, that Ripple XRP will keep pushing that momentum, even if it drops, slightly, even if it goes up. They just had a $100 million deal, which definitely makes you consider that it is going to push for another potential.
The top of its trend.
Like, that's the thing. When you have $100 million, you have way, way more potential to go to that extra level and do what other cryptos couldn't do.
Back here on February 2nd. That is a great sign. USDT dominance breaking this trend here to the downside, showing that there is a lot more confidence in the market and that we might be on the verge of, again, a huge push back into assets, which would be a big deal, especially for something like XRP, which has performed so well since November. Now, people are realizing this. In fact, whales are realizing this. In fact, over the last 48 hours, whales have purchased 50 million XRP. Now, it's pretty small compared to some of the...
So 50 million purchased by whales in XRP. Again, at this price, What does this tell you? It tells you they still think it's cheap. Tells you that they still think it will go up.
Run-ups we saw obviously in November and early part of July, right? But they are coming back nonetheless after they decided to take some profits. And maybe this has a lot to do with obviously the conclusion of the Ripple v SEC case. That was a very big deal.
I feel like the whales are obviously buying millions, 50 million XRP. Again, how much is that? $150 million. So do you guys, if you put $150 million, of course you're going to do research. My opinion, they know something.
Or maybe it more so has to do with the fact that people are realizing that they're running out of time, because it is coming out more and more that,
again, this could cause a huge price crash as well, like when these whales sell, but that's for another video as well.
All these companies are building XRP treasuries. In fact, Vivo Power shares jumped 32% yesterday on this $100 million Ripple buy plan. They're going to be buying some more XRP. They're focusing on this digital asset treasury strategy. And this marks, what is it now? I don't even know the number. It's like 6 or 7.
Buy combination of Ripple shares and XRP tokens. So that's the first institution probably buying. There's going to be many more. Allow us to optimize for yield maximization while also minimizing the weighted average cost of XRP acquired. So yeah, that's one of the biggest deals in crypto history. And it's definitely the first step for them to actually go, for other institutions to follow. They probably got it at a very good price as well, in my opinion, from what I was seeing.
In different companies, publicly traded companies that are in fact going to be purchasing XRP. And I think this is the start of a really big wave, because again,
there's going to be more and more institutions buying, but again, they bought it from Ripple directly. So that's a big deal.
Is preceding XRP spot ETF approvals, meaning that institutional money is going to be just slamming the buy button on XRP as well. I mean, we're in this. We're kind of about to ride this very big wave, if that makes sense. And not even just for XRP, but in crypto in general, because the embrace which was just an announcement back in November, and it was just more so speculation and a little bit of news here and there in the earlier part of the year, is now becoming a reality. We're again very much accelerating towards crypto legislation here in the U.S. If you guys remember, we're supposed to have the Clarity Act signed in to law by September. We obviously had the Genius Act signed into law. We're going through some pretty big overhauls in the space, and we're now getting to the point where actually Ripple has a chance to take over legacy payment systems, and that's.
So yeah, this is the real possibility that institutions have been waiting for 13 years. So Ripple couldn't do that before. It couldn't do that years before, but finally it's trying to push forward and get to actually, provide value and utility. That's why in 2021 they didn't grow as much, is because they didn't have much to show in product. But in 5 years, you can build a big product, right? And here we see that institutions have now started testing this, and they're in early testing stages. So in the next 2 to 3 years, maybe 2 years, it could be more institutions joining in. And again, I cannot emphasize how important this is to me, guys. Blockchain XRP developed friends in the IT field, and they looked at me as I had 3 heads. A lot of people will not understand XRP. That's the issue. Crypto is global. Got to consider global sentiment. Crypto is getting mainstream. That's another truth. So there is a lot of bullish momentum for XRP that I am really hopeful for, where XRP could really start growing in that way. Like, just from the companies alone, that would be extra $500 million, in my opinion. $500 million. So let that sink in. So XRP holders, it's finally happening. This big news that we have been waiting for. XRP, he knows something. So Eric Trump. I thought a lot about Eric Trump, but this is President Trump's executive director of digital assets, Bo Hines, resigned. Like, we have so much politics to talk about because it very much applies to the crypto markets.
Of the White House Crypto Council, Bo Hines, I mean, we watch countless videos and live streams about crypto, and he's always talking. He said the U.S. wants as many Bitcoins as possible. People ask him, how many do you have? They're like, we don't know, but we want all of it. I'm like, okay. Well, This guy probably knows more than any of us. He has the insider strategy for the White House. He knows the partner.
Again, I feel like they're going to hire also more employees for crypto in the next few days or next few weeks in the government, which will understand crypto, and it's going to help them pump the crypto market.
And getting access to so many things and info. And you would, I mean, I will say, okay, keep crushing it, brother. Like, go ahead. Boom. He resigns. President Trump's executive director of the digital assets, Bo Hines, has resigned. And he posted something I want to read for you guys. And it's this guy. If you forgot, no worries, I got you. Kale is right in the
Bo was joined by his deputy. I guess that could be the biggest collab of 2024. Look at this. Ethereum itself growing. That is nice. But XRP takes stop spotting grayscale weekly crypto snapshot. So the ETF with like news like this, the ETF could be closer just because of good news like that.
top spot in grayscale weekly crypto snapshot. That's so good. Let me show you. So look something like this. Let me open it in a new window. And if we
returns in 1 week, XRP return to one date, 60%. Look at that. So just let that chart sink in. It gave better return today than Bitcoin. Better return date in Bitcoin and better return today in 1 week. That's why the whales bought 150 million. Again, 10% of that 1.5 million or 1 million is a lot of money for 10%. That's $100,000 someone just got, right? Because whales bought $2 million, $1 million. So nothing gave more returns than this. XRP is on the leading spot. That's why I'm saying like Doge is not the main thing because it's minus 30% still. Stellar is like right up there.
zoom in, you're going to see how that is August the 7th. Today is the 9th. But the first week of August, we crushed. Returned first week, XRP 9.7%. Look at that. Stellar, Cardano, Doge, Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is doing much better. But today, the first week of August, XRP did phenomenal. And that's so good. So my thing is, Eleanor even saying, Hines, who previously worked as a partner at a growth equity firm before joining the Trump administration, will remain on a special government employee, to assist with AI initiatives alongside David Sachs. If you ask me, just speculation right here, of course, not financial advice, but the guy wanted to make a lot more money. He knows everything. He knows what's coming. He knows all the partners and all the big news. And obviously, you get out from the White House.
I feel like there's a lot of the news that we hear here is like already priced in. Like a lot of people already know it days before we hear about it. All right. So that's why I usually check news that's more important or news that's going to happen in the future, because sometimes this type of news, while it's cool and all, it's just a small factor of what's about to happen. Who previously worked as a part of a growth equity firm before joining the Trump will remain on special government employee to assist with AI initiative. Like AI is becoming the future. The government made it very clear on that. XRP being the future, but the government made it very clear. Like, look at this price. This is the biggest gainer in 2024, and the charts don't lie, and I told you guys about this. Market cap 200 billion. So return year to date. Okay, this coin, which I talked about on my stream, has returned 10% more than XRP. But most people, who knows what's going to happen to it. But right now, XRP is absolutely killing it. Like it's insanely good, which is good, but not financial advice. Again, not financial advice. Anything could happen in crypto market. Remember the risks of trading. Remember the risk of returns and everything like that. And you got to think about, life is short. Enjoy life as well.
We went down. Price of XRP came down a little bit more.
Like just staying at this price. Wow. Staying at this price level really makes you wonder that the prices are not going to crash yet.
Again to that 320. So if you wanted to buy the dip, I think some of you are doing it here on BTCC. Well done. Great news for those who are looking into what are looking for. And here, what happened here and what happened here, right? So at 3,500, we stayed a long time in this level, on this level, and also this level May and June, like 2,500.
Until we got more news. I'm waiting for more news in September. I feel like I always repeat myself, but you know, there's so many things about in September, October that really hype me up for crypto. Hype me way up than anything before.
Remember, it was kind of boring, but finally we're waking up to the idea. That's why, you know, we have Ethereum, we have XRP in the top returns, and I think for the second week of August, the number one spot is going to be ETH. And that's so good because there's more spot ETFs and big financial instruments coming in for the price of XRP.
I feel like that XRP's real gains, in my opinion, will start in 3 years, 2 3 years, because that's when, you know, all this stuff that they have promised will finally go live. It takes time.
Crypto exchange CEOs, that's something that he does, explaining the agenda of the administration, right? So I think he did a good job. I like the guy. He was always very sharp. And when he was always saying, oh, we want more and more and more Bitcoin, I mean, you can hear that. Look, you do Bo Hines and you do Bitcoin, you'll hear this. There's supposed to be a video right here. Well, there's one that was June 26th. And listen to this.
There are a lot of different actors that held on to some Bitcoin in some fashion or another. Now the process begins in terms of, you know, establishing the reserve, the actual infrastructure behind it, and getting all of that accomplished. There's nothing in the EO that mandates that report become public, but we could choose to make it public at some point. And we are certainly keen on the idea of accumulation. We've stated publicly that Bitcoin is digital gold. We believe it's in the best interest of the United States to garner as much as we can possibly get. I've said that at every conference that I've spoken at.
I feel like he predicted it correctly. And the US is already holding some crypto anyway. They're holding like some amounts of crypto, which is another thing. Best interest in the US government to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. Didn't they reveal that they will get a Bitcoin treasury and an XRP treasury anyway? So he is focused on that, and that's what we need. Like, you know, younger people voicing their concerns or their, you know, their thoughts, and that's what I like to see. This is where, you know, technology is really showing itself in 2025 for XRP.
Well, I'm gonna follow him closely, and if you wanna,
I'll keep you guys updated right now. Why I believe XRP will explode. I'm just gonna take.
I'm going to show y'all why I personally believe that XRP will explode.
Huh?
The prices are going to skyrocket here at some point, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay, I'm going to try to do it very briefly. I have to say this for legal reasons. This is not financial advice. Please consult your own financial advisors and all of that if you're listening to this and considering investing in cryptocurrency. Please realize cryptocurrency is very volatile, and don't invest in anything that you're not willing to lose. So with that being said, this is a massive, like 50-page document by River Financial Inc., where they show that Bitcoin adoption is at 3% of its potential.
So we're going to go through it line by line, right?
Yeah, we're going to go through this entire report. No, this is just one. This is one aspect of the report, but they did this massive report on Bitcoin, and this is very interesting because what they show is they compare Bitcoin to online banking back in 1996, social media in 2005, and the internet in 1990. And they're essentially showing this graph. It's almost like this curve where it's like things are getting ramped up, and then they explode, and then they kind of level out at some point, right? When they put all four of these things together, they're saying right now Bitcoin's sitting at 3% of its potential. And there's a lot of different information that they put into this. But I mean, think about it for a second. If you could have invested in internet technology in 1990, would you have done it, right? If you could have invested in online banking in 1996, would you have done it? The answer is absolutely, right? Everybody wishes they would have bought Walmart stock back in 1985 or whenever it was. That it's like that same idea. And when you talk about the internet specifically, if you could have invested in some of the major players like Google, for instance, back in the day, it would have been Yahoo, like what you could have considered pillars of the internet world, then obviously if you could travel back in time and do that, you would do it. So we're not talking about Bitcoin today. We're talking about cryptocurrency and specifically XRP. But I'm using this to show if they are correct that Bitcoin adoption is only at 3% of its potential, of its full potential, then we are still in the early stages of cryptocurrency altogether. So I said all that just to say, if we're in the, and here's a stat that I believe proves that that's true. The global cryptocurrency market cap today is $3.92 trillion. That's how much money is invested in cryptocurrency today. Guess what? That is 60% higher than it was 1 year ago. Wow. It's grown 60% in the last year. So where do you think we are on this curve when it comes to cryptocurrency? Companies are moving towards cryptocurrency now. Like all the major players in finance are starting to tie in cryptocurrency. There have been major players. Well, I don't know. We're not going to get into that. That's just the research that I've done. It's kind of old now, but when it comes to Yahoo, is that they're not making good decisions. But there have been major players in the internet. There's going to be major players, essentially pillars in the crypto world. I believe XRP is one of them. XRP is currently the third largest cryptocurrency. And so it's like you've got Bitcoin, and I think Ethereum is number 2, and then XRP is number 3. And so if it is one of the pillars of a market that is only just now ramping up, and then at some point it is going to be worth exponentially more than it is now. What do y'all think?
So here's the danger, since we You're just talking about Yahoo, I'm going to throw this out there. What you're talking about is winners and losers. Obviously, I think it's pretty safe to say at this point, crypto cryptocurrency is not going away. It's not going away. But like you said, like the internet, people at the beginning, there was a lot of people at the beginning of the internet. I don't remember who it was. There was somebody that was like a really smart expert person at the top of their field, and their take on the internet when it first came out was this is a fad and it's not going to last. Like it's
Right.
just, it's just a fun little fad. It's not going to last. I don't remember who that was. Somebody look it up, because it's somebody that was like, it's somebody that you would think should have known better because they were like super smart and they're an expert and stuff. But you just don't never know. You don't. There's winners and there's losers. So let's compare Amazon and Google to Yahoo, right?
Oh my, so my mic wasn't working for some reason for like over an hour. So let us just compare that. I was speaking like for 1 hour, but yeah, there's obviously going to be winners and losers in the market, but XRP is already a top 10 crypto. So it is going to be staying in that range level. So just to say what you guys didn't hear, XRP is already very bullish. Smash that like button if you haven't already. But XRP right now has been having tons of potential still, even what we're seeing right now, if XRP is gonna be the next big thing. The thing is here, we are already maybe like 10% of adoption. So not just 3%, but XRP, nobody is buying like, you know, XRP right now, especially not institutions. So without the big bill, that's what would happen. I was muted, so that's why you guys couldn't hear me. The next thing is XRP has more and more potential because right now institutions are buying in big. We are seeing also that while Bitcoin was being bought out right now, 2025, institutions might just get it for 2026, 2027. And if you're a top 3 crypto, which people are saying, there's obviously going to be losers. But this one, XRP, is a winner, in my opinion. It is the winner because it stays that way. It stays strong. And it's going to be probably at least top 10, in my opinion.
I don't remember who it was. There was somebody that was like a really smart expert person at the top of their field, and their take on the internet when it first came out was
there's obviously going to be losers, like Cardano, you know, is really dropped off, but it doesn't mean it can't recover. It just means some cryptos will grow less than the other, and that's completely fine. Again, not financial advice on this channel, but you know, wanted to make it pretty clear that anything could happen at this point. And we are at very early stages of crypto. And I told this for a long time. I've been saying this since 2016, guys. I mean, I'll be saying it now.
This is a fad, and it's not going to last.
Less than
like it's just a fun little fad. It's not going to last. I don't remember.
I just saw now my mic is off. Well, that was unfortunate. And Bitcoin decided to play catch up today. It just shot up all by itself. Strange. So yeah, that's the thing with Bitcoin. I feel like institutions are going to be buying it, right? A very big amount. And it's always going to be like its own player, its own thing.
I remember who that was. Somebody look it up, because it's somebody that was like, it's somebody that you would think should have known better because they were like super smart and they're an expert and stuff. But you just don't never know. You don't. There's winners and there's losers. So let's compare Amazon and Google to Yahoo, right? Amazon, Google, have more value than ever before.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
that. They just go up and up and up and up. So they're the winners. So if you invested in them, then you would be a winner too, right? However, if you invested in Yahoo, and that's where you dumped all your money and you held it till 2016, well, Yahoo, at one point, they were, quote, the king of the internet, according to Forbes, with a $125 billion evaluation. And then in 2016, they got sold to Verizon for $5 billion. And the saddest buyout in tech history is the name of this article, right? And so I'm just saying there's winners and losers. So that my only caveat to this whole thing is, yes, cryptocurrency probably is going to last. However, even when even with all this stuff, you never know who for sure is going to be the winner and who for sure is going to be the loser.
So yeah, he's basically saying, in my opinion, what he's saying is that XRP might not grow. It might have competitors. And this is definitely true. It might get overtaken by a competitor. But there's always going to be needs for XRP's payment processing. And no other company can do it yet. Why is Amazon the number one? Is because nobody can grow with it. XRP and will be continue to be a big thing. Disappointment. I don't agree with you. I feel like the XRP thing right now, what we're seeing, it might have competition, but it's literally trying to prevent that. You know, it's trying to prevent all that competition that we're seeing right now by getting more employees.
So XRP might be a winner,
but I think,
but looking back in the past, and if you're 100 years from now looking backwards, people might be like, huh, all those silly people that invested in XRP when Fartcoin was actually the one that lasted, and so yeah, that's my only caveat there.
Yeah, that's totally understandable, but I think that
last bit was a joke, but the winners and losers thing is real.
I think that it's an interesting comparison because it really works quite well. And I don't disagree with your sentiment there, but I would actually compare Google to Yahoo because what Google did was they branded themselves really well, and they increased their utility and
that's what XRP is becoming right now. It's literally becoming a brand thing. It is becoming its own brand, and it's trying to push further ahead than just be something that you will forget in 3 years. So yeah, that's the main core is that's why they're doing a $100 million deal.
They increased the way that you could use email was better than Yahoo. And also in addition to that, I don't think Yahoo's necessarily a loser. So they still have stocks, right? Like they're still publicly traded.
Well, they've lost at this point, but I think for a long time they weren't. They were a pillar for a long time, and they went from nothing to insane amounts of glory. So I think they were a winner for a while. I don't think you could argue that.
Yeah, so this could be stellar. This could be XRP. Maybe it's not going to be a winner now, but right now what we're seeing is that the clear point is clear. Right now, XRP still has an under-tap potential. Bitcoin, it could be the new internet, right? And XRP will follow 0.006 or 0.006 exactly of their portfolios is only buying Bitcoin. What about XRP? Very big amount of people could be joining in, and there's a very big amount of money that could be coming in. Philip busted. I'll subscribe to these guys. This one looks pretty nice. Actually,
they've been a loser the whole time.
Right?
No. They're a loser because yes, they went up massively in value. But if you started investing in Yahoo when they went up massively in value, what I'm saying is you would have lost all your money come 2016 when their value was worth a fraction of the price it was when you first started investing.
I agree, and I think that could be for some. That could be an issue at some point. I just don't think we're there yet. I think we're at the bottom of the curve, Yeah,
so if you go to the bottom of the curve with Yahoo, it would be kind of a similar thing, Like if you invested at pennies in Yahoo as a consumer, regular retail consumer, you invested at pennies in Yahoo way back in the day, and then you held till it went up to that top market, and you either sold or continued holding or whatever it is you did, you're still winning at that point. And maybe Yahoo is a loser, but the consumer is a winner because they played their cards right. And it's the same thing with cryptocurrency is if you hold the right currency and you sell at the right height, you win regardless of what happens to that cryptocurrency afterward. They might become a loser, but you have to just play the system right. And I think that XRP is akin to Google in the sense that it has branded itself well enough that people like it just because of what it is. And I remember when I got a Gmail account, actually, it was the big exciting thing. And it was it's
becoming like a brand. There's going to be so-called copycats or knockoffs, which could do the work better than XRP right now. But XRP will be the next, in that terms, in payment systems, they could be the next processing provider. So they could be the main thing, the main partnership. Again, a lot of these other projects are not working with banks. Maybe they do stuff better with than XRP. But they cannot get bank partnerships. They cannot sell their company for $100 million for a small fraction. That is a lot of money. $100 million, you can get it like that in one day, right? So this is where really XRP wins. It is now entering RWA.
New, what is this Gmail? I don't even know what it is. And then when I finally got accepted to get my Google account, my Google email account, it was really exciting to get in there and see all the different functions and utility that it had compared to my Hotmail account, just for another example. And I stopped using my Hotmail, but Hotmail is still around. It just isn't doing as well. And Google is clearly doing a whole lot better. But you could technically have both and still win.
So I really like the fundamental analysis that you put together, and I think it makes sense because you're talking about how it's being held. 80% of it, that says a lot to me. And the fact that what it's doing is because we have globalization. And so if this is actually helping with settlements and now they're applying to open a bank, to me, I'm thinking I'm going to start looking a little bit more at XRP because even if I look at the last 5. What's that? You got one?
Like last 5 years, you cannot compare XRP because last 5 years it was in a lawsuit. You could compare it if it didn't have a lawsuit and had the same scenario. And now the demand for, transactions is basically bigger than ever before.
Yeah. Well, even if you look at the last 5 years, like the floor today, from a technical analysis standpoint, the floor today is above what any peak was since 2018. It's bumping again. It has a new floor, and so for me, it's just going to keep going up. And it's a matter of where does Ryan get in? So that's what we're going to be looking at. Are you doing day trading, or is this? The final thing is that I think you need to view it as a store of value, because either you're day trading and you're really watching it, or swing trading and you're looking at that ups and downs. But I'm not sure that cryptocurrencies are the best for even swing trading. I think if you're going to be
I feel like, XRP is like a 5-10 year project. It's not like one of those come and go coins. There's a lot of them like that. So yeah, that's my opinion. It could be replaced, but it's going to take a while for them to get replaced even.
Doing it as a store of value, then you get in and it's a long-term thing, kind of like a retirement plan.
If you're going to be scalping crypto, you better be doing it like full-time and paying attention to what you're doing, because you could lose real big if you're not careful.
Right.
My only scalping crypto experience was buying Dogecoin at the top of the meme. When it was the very top of the meme a few years ago, I bought like $50 in Dogecoin, and I pretty much immediately lost half of the value. Comes around.
So I feel like it's a very real thing that, retail is like 2021 year of 2021. And then we have companies which haven't even found out about crypto yet becoming the thing of 2025, 2026, 2029. Again, these regulations are going to take time. They're not going to be easy. They're not going to be fast, but they will come, in my opinion. There's nothing stopping them. And that's where really crypto wins in that matter. So yeah, it is still tons of potential there on that part. I'm really hoping for XRP. XRP will make millionaires. Exactly. No other crypto grew as much as XRP year to date. So it really makes you wonder how much XRP can, explode from that part. So they have a clear point. Yeah, there could be other cryptos, but are they going to get replaced? That's very unlikely. For XRP to get replaced, it would need something better, and it would need better partnerships. But this is a company with 1,000 people. So can Google get replaced? Yeah. But did it happen? No. It's still the best one out there. Same with Amazon. Amazon cannot get replaced. It's still the best one out there. So I don't think it's going to get replaced at all. Until, or maybe, if you believe that, then obviously like XRP is possibly not for you. And again, I'm not telling you to buy XRP or sell XRP. I'm just telling you right now that, you got to realize that the crypto game right now is evolving very fast. The markets and the internet, it is evolving at a rapid level. Bitcoin adoption is just beginning, right? And XRP is going to follow. XRP is even giving more gains this year than Bitcoin this year. Year to date, these last 8 months, XRP has been one of the biggest gainers. More trading volume. Koreans talk about it. Institutions buy Bitcoin. Retail investors buy XRP, in my opinion. So yeah. XRP major signal just flashed. Let's take a look at this. Time is running out. Here is why. So why is time running out for XRP? What's the major signal? So let me just skip through on here. So corporate supply buying Bitcoin versus new supply. Corporate treasuries and funds have bought 370,000 Bitcoin year to date, 357 more miners produced. So supply versus demand. This obviously is very good for XRP as well.
Bitcoins that are being mined, it's just not enough to keep up, and that's where the scarcity aspect.
They're buying the entire supply. They're literally buying the entire supply. What they're doing right now.
This time around, people that have obtained Bitcoin, over the last, few years are honestly the ones that are actually, happy at this point, because in terms of retail aspect, guys, retail just in a grand scheme of things, I'm not saying the entire retail cannot afford BTC, but in a grand scheme of things, only a very small percentage can go ahead and purchase one.
Yeah, you're very blessed if you can buy a full Bitcoin. How many XRP can you buy? A big supply, right? That's why people are buying XRP right now, because if you're going to ask a person, what would you rather hold? Pro Crypto House, new rules, new game, Wall Street has endorsed it. I mean, this is a very clear idea. If you could own 10 XRP or 0.0001 of Bitcoin or whatever it is, I'm just giving an explanation here, or 100 XRP, what would you rather have? 100 XRP that could each go to $10. So that would be 1,000. I definitely feel like it can go to $10. Not financial advice, of course, but that's my opinion. Or would you hold like a fraction of something? Right? That's why people are pushing for XRP. Also the burns. XRP is going to have burns in the future. I don't feel like the XRP burns will affect the price. They haven't with Terra Luna Classic. They haven't with, SHIB, but they will support the price, which is the most important. They will add utility. It literally adds utility. They're used as gas fees. XRP is going to be used as gas fees just like Ethereum is. So what happened to Ethereum when it was used for gas and staked? That's a lot of money that came true. Like a lot of gas burned, a lot of Ethereum burned every single day.
Imagine once you do see that ETF coming in the picture, how much momentum that could bring in. And on top of that, we need to understand there's already corporations that are raising funds to actually obtain XRP on their balance sheet, which of course should give you a better understanding as to what the future potentially looks like. But look at what Bank XRP says. Ripple versus SEC is now officially over there.
So yeah, the SEC officially announces a joint stipulation to dismiss appeals. Civil enforcement action against Ripple and two of its executives. So seems like we've hit a turning point for Ripple, and XRP isn't going unnoticed. The potential for reaching that $8 mark is thrilling, considering its recent surge. With all this behind us, the path for XRP and broader XRP ledger ecosystem might be just getting clearer. So yeah, $8. I mean, if we saw 68% this year, could it be this bull run? It's going to be maybe a bit harder, but it's not going to be impossible. $8 is not that crazy when you think about it.
The SEC officially announced a joint dismissal on the appeals, resolving civil enforcement action against Ripple and two of its executives, which were Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson. Done. It is officially over, and of course this is bigger than you know it. But speaking about that, of course, last night we talked about how there could be a potential listing from BlackRock now, which even me personally I think it just makes sense. But look what Nate says. BlackRock
I already talked about this, but yeah, the pretty much summary on this is BlackRock is not going to say no to easy money, and I think they're waiting for the right announcement. I'm pretty sure they said the same for Ethereum. This was the same general reply that we got for Ethereum. BlackRock does not have any plans to file an Ethereum ETF. Sold the block, and like a few months later they listed it. So do I trust this? In my opinion, not. I love BlackRock, I love you to bits, but the thing is, I feel like XRP ETFs will be listed as soon as the government approves it. But we already have so many XRP ETFs incoming. It's a lot of money coming in. So, BlackRock will be joining up with or without them. That's the most important factor here.
Reminder, we have big names that have filed for that.
Like, look at these. These are very big names. And then we have Canadian ETFs. We don't have only US ETFs. Then we're going to have, other ETFs available.
ETF, and I think sometime in, the near future, we're going to see these really go live based off of the timelines. I think the deadline is sometime in October. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm very confident that it is around that range. So of course SEC has to make up its decision. It just makes sense. With this lawsuit over, I think maybe now is the time for them to approve it. And if they approve it that way,
they already said we're gonna get more news in September. I feel like people forget that September is gonna be the big day of the big news, and that's exactly what I was saying about that.
Be huge, but don't expect SEC to come. I'm sorry, not SEC. Don't expect BlackRock to come out and admit that yes, guys, we are going to do it in the future. Even if they commented this, hey, we are planning to do it in the near future, but as of now, we're not yet to do so. what would that have done to the price? The price would have reacted in a positive way. And we need to understand that these keywords are something we don't want to be ignoring. But take a look at what's...
Yeah, I mean, confirming would send the asset price soaring, chess, not checkers. I mean, why wouldn't they just launch their own campaign and announce it when it is ready? I feel like that's more important. Like, they will not just announce it through an article. They will wait for everyone until they finally confirm it.
Subjective view says BlackRock isn't, obviously crazy. Confirming the plans to launch an XRP ETF would send the assets price soaring. Exactly. Perfectly explained what I'm talking about as well. But look at what X Finance Bull says. Breaking: South Korea just flipped the switch.
I mean, South Korea is trading pretty big volumes, right, on XRP. Very high amounts. Anyway, in millions. I would say like 30% of all XRP volume is Korea. They're very advanced, very developed, friendly people, and they know that XRP is going to be moving the markets. They also traded a lot of Terra Luna Classic. So I'm not saying that Terra Luna Classic and XRP are correlated. I'm just saying that both were doing like these type of transactions and payment systems, and they were working on things. I feel like the communities will unite at some point.
On XRP, 1.1 billion volume on Upbit in 24 hours, leading the world. The surge came right after the SEC case closed. FOMO is heating up, and this is just the beginning. Let me know in the comments what your personal thoughts are in regards to that.
Like, this is like, let's see what people are saying. I guess that will be the next big Hopium events was yesterday, but I thought I was going to push it right over $5.07. That was not what we were waiting for. We were waiting for something else. I don't know what. It's not going to be $5 instantly. It's going to take time before it's actually $5. And even these ETFs, they are the catalyst for $5. These will take time to actually get the inflows up and running. But the first day, wow, it could be nice. It is not going to change the world, but it is going to help.
Talk about the index, the dominance index, and how important it is if you're an altcoin holder. And look at this. We broke below July lows. Amazing to see. We're retesting some of the levels we haven't seen since the beginning of the year. Drop in below 60%, which we have not done so yet, would be an insane thing in my opinion, which could trigger even more excitement within the altcoin market. BTC, on the other hand, is pushing back towards a $117,600 range. So far, we have some resistance around the level where we currently are, but amazing to see with the way BTC is holding while dominance is pulling down, and of course altcoins.
So yeah, it does seem like that Koreans have been buying XRP. Upbit is a big Korean exchange. Everything is slowly going steady up. This lawsuit being over. Again, what's next? You're thinking, life is good right now. And the real answer is institutions. Institutions buying in is basically lots of money coming in, which is what I've been hoping for. Now with the SEC case officially over, 100%, not 99%, 100%, this is when we could see institutions like hop on in and say, oh, we suddenly bought it. We already saw one buy for 100 million of Ripple shares. Again, when you buy Ripple shares, you basically say, I'm trusting you with $100 million that my portfolio will go up. And, they're willing to bet big. They're willing to bet millions and millions of dollars. Even $100 million for it to basically recover. So Michael Saylor just shocked everyone. This is the one I like.
Smokus, it ain't no joke. It's monthly XRP.
So look at this, XRP 3.3, right? But Michael Saylor has said something here. This is the most important factor. Eric Trump stopped shorting Bitcoin and ETH. He tweeted, it puts a smile on my face to see Ethereum get smoked today. Stop betting against Bitcoin and Ethereum. Your run will be over. And something, is hinting me, like in my personal beliefs, that he is also gonna be talking about XRP when he notices it. I definitely think he will start talking about XRP. I feel like their main portfolio holdings right now are Bitcoin and ETF, Bitcoin and Ethereum, because these are the ones that have ETFs. So once XRP gets an ETF, it could be joining right up. So it's very obvious to me that they're holding like these two assets right now, or they're very invested into these two, because they are ETFs and they're much easier to buy for them. So yeah, XRP being next is gonna be the next big thing that, literally Trump could talk about it. I'm not joking. He could literally tweet about XRP and set it to skyrocket.
Because what happens is once people feel fulfillment from Ethereum, then they start looking for, okay, what's the next runner? What's the next thing that I could potentially go to? I've made money now on a big cap. Now let me go into a mid cap. Potentially that has a lot more potential to move, right? And although Ethereum 4-year chart has broken, and this is from Crypto, he says, as much as this is awesome, I want to get excited only once we confirm this breakout.
Yeah, so the thing is, this is cool, right? But I don't feel like people will be selling their Ethereum for XRP now. I feel like what will happen is each of these coins will have its own patterns. I don't feel like we are going to be entering the same cycles. We might enter like an altcoin cycle, but XRP and Bitcoin growing so much up while Ethereum just stayed there confirms what exactly is happening right now with interest rates and that everything is awesome. But I literally feel that the next potential is going to be that all these crypto coins will be independent of its own when the market caps get big enough. So right now, because we're very small at 2 million, if Bitcoin crashes, everything crashes. But at some point, when XRP hits 1 trillion, which is, in my opinion, could be possible, then XRP is going to start moving its own patterns. It's not going to follow what Bitcoin does or Ethereum does. It's going to, grow up.
There's a sell-off here going into the funding fee, and then it popped back up. So if you were using high leverage here, you might have got shooken out, right? So again, this is important to remember when you're taking high risk trades. Again, if this is not relevant to you, then fine, it's fine. If you're long-term investing and you're not using leverage, it's fine. But a lot of the crypto market is moved by leverage, so you have to understand a little bit leverage. And listen, people get
was fully liquidated with total losses exceeding 60 million. So imagine there's a lot of traders I'm seeing that they bought XRP and lost overnight. So just let that sink in. $16 million.
Get liquidated. This person, this trader got fully liquidated, losing,
waking up to 60 million. I know a lot of people sold their XRP at a loss. I saw it in the charts.
$15 million. Again, some people will make $15 million and some people will lose $15 million. This is just how the crypto market is.
Leaving him with a position of 40 million. So now he has 40 million left. So again, this guy still has 40 million. But yeah, this sizable ETF perspective, a microscopic from Harvard's perspective. Didn't Harvard said Harvard and Brown bought I beat Harvard's pretty sizable, the 29th biggest holder out of 1,300 holders. Okay, so yeah, even institutions are slowly buying up. That's what I'm seeing here right now is institutions, families, politicians. As soon as crypto gets regulated, it could become the secondary stock market, not financial advice. But yeah, it's pretty clear that it's gonna deviate and it's gonna be its own thing. It doesn't have to follow the stock market anymore.
Holder out of 1,300 holders. Endowments are the hardest institutions to hook. They rarely bite on ETFs. Interesting. He says, to be sure, this is a sizable from an ETF perspective, but microscopic from Harvard's perspective. And plus, we don't know if they are doing some larger trade or arbitrage with this. Still, though, I'm telling you, endowments are notably anti-ETF.
So yeah, right now, a lot of institutions are still anti-XRP ETF, which sucks. Yeah, it does, but it is not that scary because there's still more and more, even if you convert, even if 1% of companies or 0.5% of companies, so right now it's 0.006% of companies own Bitcoin. What if 0.5% or 0.2% of companies buy XRP or hold XRP? 0.1%. Imagine, XRP would literally be worth $1 trillion. 0.1% of companies in the US. So yeah, this crypto bill is why I'm literally so much bullish on it.
Much they will want to write. So this is interesting that Harvard and Brown are now invested into the crypto market.
Literally, this is just the start. You can see more institutions buying in. The SEC had 13 votes all relating to crypto ETPs scheduling on against DLC and Bit10. You know, it's more crypto favorable now.
Happening. So we'll see. We'll see how that, make money off of it and said no, right? No. People can create their own indicators. They can use the 1348 EMA. It's free. No, thank you. But other people do that. It's okay. It's fine. So again, this ratio flashing, maybe this means a run up and maybe it doesn't. Again, sometimes indicators, I like to use the 13.
I don't agree with indicators because the issue is XRP every single day is a bit different. So why use indicators like that happened 7 years ago? They could be right, but 7 years ago in crypto is such a different time period, right? It's like years ago. And XRP now is in a totally different spot. So they said 54%. Like these indicators always happen. So don't always believe these indicators, guys.
Sometimes you don't know. Turmoil comes, uncertainty comes, the market crash, like things can happen. Okay, so we don't know. We don't know. Justin, let's listen to what Michael Saylor just said.
I think the big idea is $100 trillion plus of capital in the traditional equity capital markets and traditional credit markets. And what we're focused on is delivering digital asset-backed equity and digital asset-backed credit. And I think those credit instruments and equity instruments are just going to outperform the traditional fiat credit and traditional fiat equity instruments all around, and capital is going to flow into the digital economy due to that.
Michael, explain the...
I think...
yeah, so digital RWA, like real world assets, and tokenization is something that, literally XRP is already involved in. So digital asset-backed instruments could be like stocks. That is something that right now XRP has expanded with 100 employees, 200 employees. So it's just very, very bullish to me if MicroStrategy is talking about it and XRP bought in big. It is good news for anyone in crypto, to see this type of, like, even billionaires talking about how this is a good decision for XRP. So yeah, could pump it up a bit here just from that. But yeah, it's gonna take some time to put all these stocks, all the RWA, all the apartments into like digitalization. Regulation is going to take time, but Ripple has the money. And if anyone is going to do it, it's going to be Ripple that is going to try to make this $1 trillion plan happen. And who's going to get rewarded for most, for this $1 trillion plan? It's going to be Ripple. It's going to be XRP. XRP is going to be rewarded, for its trillions that it could, transfer there and true. That's why I feel like Ripple is going to, really shock the markets. But guys, on this channel, smash that like button. On this channel, we actually are more bullish on Ripple, like in the next few months than we are week by week. Like a lot of people come to my channel and say, why is the price crashing? You got to think about it like in 1 week if the price crashed, we are literally in the biggest bull run, bro. Like that's the thing you have to realize is the markets are good right now. And they're going to continue to be good to us for the foreseeable future as long as the government, continues being good on crypto. So it is still looking very, very trendish right now. And it's not looking scary at all for me. So especially if like they just bought 200 million. Guys, if a company like Ripple buys $200 million, this means that right now we are definitely not in a recession. They acquired $200 million, which means this could be just like a small portion of the money they have. I literally feel like Ripple has billions. XRP major news, ADA, huge predictions. So let's take a look at that.
P gets denied by a major player. We got a prediction out there for you price-wise. We'll talk price action at the end. Hodgkinson says ADA is going to the moon, is going to surpass ETH. Ripple CLO Stuart Alderati sharing some wisdom with us. We'll have that along with
I say lots of naughty things, so
state of mind.
So yeah, lots has been happening with Ripple the past week. Tons of stuff. So if you're new to this channel, smash that like button. But it definitely seems like that Ripple right now has been really outperforming its counterparts. So I want to get a cat out what's going with crypto ETFs. Nate Garachian, Jay Seth are it. Eric Belchunas. So XRP ETFs, this is the big factor of 2025 that we have been waiting. We have been waiting for these ETFs, because these are the ones that are actually going to push Ripple to higher prices, in my opinion, as much as other people think it's not going to do anything. But yeah, the most important factor is there's so much happening this week for XRP.
Released a program where you can move international money transmittances for 99 cents using stable coins. I asked Enrique, hey Enrique, and he lives there, really cool dude. I asked Enrique, I'm like, Enrique, how come people aren't advertising this? How come people aren't using this program? And he says, bro, because the banks don't want to give up their profits by using traditional means to move money. Banks make a shitload of money on remittances, and they do, right? Well, banks don't want to advertise it because it cuts into their profits.
Yeah, so that's why banks are not using crypto right now, or that's what was said, because it cuts into their profits. But imagine if what Ripple did is literally save them money. Now, something that you hate your entire life, you do a full 180 and they suddenly offer you the solution of having faster transactions for cheaper. Now, that is value, right? And this value is worth about $300 billion. $300 billion, because that's what Ripple is trying to do right now.
So again, crypto, it's about getting people to understand what crypto can do. It can save a lot of people working outside of their respective companies.
So instead of waiting 1 to 2 days for, your family to get money, it will literally save lives, potentially, indirectly. And it will cost maybe like a 20th of a penny to send that transaction, which will probably give Ripple millions. It will save these banks millions. Everybody will win. It will make the world faster. And XRP faces setbacks as BlackRock rules out ETF plans. Like, I'm not too worried about that.
BlackRock rules out ETF plans. Ripple's XRP just hit a major roadblock. Despite recent legal victories, asset management giant BlackRock has confirmed it has no intention of launching an XRP ETF. But bro, all the people on Twitter are talking about a BlackRock ETF. Well, they're fucking retarded. Mr. Garrison already helped us out in the beginning with Charm.
Like, don't be that afraid if the XRP ETF doesn't come immediately, because, again, once it comes, that's going to be a new inflow of money coming in to XRP. It is going to be a massive wave, just like we saw with Bitcoin. What happened with Bitcoin and Ethereum? Ethereum spiked 25% as the first day of the ETF being announced. Bitcoin spiked like 50% in the first week. So what's stopping from XRP doing the same? That's literally it. There's not a lot of cryptos that have an ETF. It's a privilege.
Everyone. So we're starting to see the market swing back on up with good volumes. Overall XRP volume 6.4 billion in the last 24 hours. That's healthy for a Saturday. I want to see what happens over this weekend, right? Because we did see some price movement with the case. Now, granted, we're not at the highs of like the 335, etc.
It doesn't need to be at 335, because if we see something like that happening right now, if we just see a momentum push, right now I feel like XRP is at the price levels where it's trying to go for another rally. This is what XRP is trying to do right now.
So they don't get screwed, so they can buy the dip. And I'm telling you, the crypto adoption thing is real.
It is
real. I want
real.
you to also think about Stellar and their big program with MoneyGram, right? That's been out now for several years. And that's another one about moving money cheaply, right? Remittances and so forth. You go to MoneyGram, no one knows what the you're talking about Stellar and that stuff. No one knows. Why? Because they don't advertise it. So again, the problem is everyone knows about crypto, but they don't know what it can do for them. So outside of people like you and me that are involved on this on a daily, people don't know.
I feel like this is very, very real. Like, people won't understand what XRP, like doing the bank transfers. I feel like slowly people will start finding out, oh, crypto did that for me. I thought crypto was, it sucked. And you're going to see more and more people joining XRP community, even if a very small percent. That's literally what Stellar is doing right now, which is very similar to Ripple. It just partnered up with MoneyGram to do these all payment transfers. That's why it went up in price so much. But the point I want to make here is that all this technology that we have been waiting for years, since 2016, that was promised on us in paper, has finally been delivered to us. So we finally got the rewards we deserved after many, many, many years, and now it's paying off. And when people see the price go up, they don't understand why, and that's what I explain on this channel. This is why the price goes up, because we are seeing banks rewarding XRP for completing important tasks that save humanity. They literally save humanity, and I'm not overreacting.
Seriously, I'm in Guatemala left and right, and the only thing I ever see advertised there is Bitcoin. That's it. I don't see anything about alts out there. I don't see anything about stables out there because the banks don't want to give up their profits. And the reality is banks want to protect their profits. So if banks want to protect their profits, they're obviously not going to be advertising things that, take away from their profits.
I feel like that's not the main thing why banks don't advertise it. I feel like they still don't have regulatory clarity to use crypto. But XRP and all these crypto bills could really help it. Crypto is still, it's not super safe thing. And again, do your own risk, do your own investments and whatever. The most important factor is it is still uncertain of what it is. It evolves so fast, people don't know what XRP is. It just became popular this year. It's going to take like another 5 to 10 years for it to really make a change. I think that's the main reason why people don't buy Bitcoin. They don't understand it. They don't understand potential. They don't buy XRP because they don't understand what's going on with it. And when you don't know what you're buying, that's really scary, right? When you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
BlackRock is a buzzword. I gotta be honest with you, all right? Everywhere you go on Twitter and on YouTube, BlackRock is a thumbnail, it's a tag word and titles and descriptions, and it's just all over. BlackRock buys this, BlackRock does this, it's everywhere, right? Thumbnail, BlackRock, melting faces, BlackRock, Elon, BlackRock doesn't want XRP, and that's okay.
I don't agree with that. I feel like if they could make money with it, they definitely would. But I think they're still waiting. And we saw the same with Bitcoin. We saw the same with Ethereum before they listed the ETFs. They had the same reply. And why would they tell, like a company, maybe they just wouldn't reply. People are looking too much into it. I think like it's still a great company. I feel like they know what they're doing, especially with real world assets. Like that's an important factor. Like they are making a lot of things right. Hope we get a huge black swan so we can buy the dip. That's the thing. XRP with black swan would be nice, like dipping below $2. But I feel like the whales are already prepared to buy at this point. As I told you guys, the whales are prepared to buy.
And X and YouTube gonna do? Well, they're still gonna put it in the thumbs, and they're still gonna be click monsters and all that kind of shit. So we'll just using traditional.
So yeah, this is the most important factor. Is you gotta be aware of what you get, what you make here in the markets. So yeah, like that's the most important factor. It's still very early, and BlackRock has time to wait to see what happens with ETFs. They're in no rush at all. Like they'd rather wait like a few extra months because they know when they list it, they have to be ready to handle the volume. So that's just my opinion, though. I don't know anything. I don't have any info about that, but I'll keep you guys updated on the news on that more. Smash that like button, guys, as well. If you haven't already, I really appreciate that. So, guys, we have another update right here. Wow. Okay. This has just come up. XRP, JP Morgan just sounded the alarm.
JP Morgan just officially
sounded the alarm. XRP holders, please listen.
Sounded the alarm. And we have to talk about this because
like JP Morgan, one of the biggest companies in XRP, would be absolutely amazing, right? that's what would really make me consider, wow, like look at this XRP getting, on the mainstream news. Fed rate cut starting September. This is something I've been telling you guys for a long while. And yeah, here it is. Bank expect four quarter point cuts this year. And we kind of all expect it, right? We kind of all expect that price bump at that level.
Bank expects 4 quarter point cuts this year, bringing rates to 3.25 to 3.5% range. Labor market weakness and Trump's pressure drive accelerated timeline predictions as well. Check this out.
All right, Fox News Alert now as we take a look at the markets with just a couple hours left in trading. The Dow is up 223 points. This says JP Morgan is now forecasting an interest rate cut in September and 4 more by the end of the year. Okay, so markets are taking all of this in. In the meantime, Charles Payne is here to make sense of this. Charles Payne of Making Money.
Yeah.
Because people are looking to make...
Like, I kind of feel like we all predict those rate cuts in September, right? But how many and how much is it going to pump XRP? Because I did predict like small rate cuts would definitely be very nice. But it really depends on where XRP goes from here. Labor market weakness and Trump pressure drive accelerated timeline prediction. I don't feel like Trump is really making, the pressure, because the rate cuts are its own thing. They're its own entity. And anyone can decide, on its own if they're going to do the rate cuts or not. But because the economy is looking so good right now, and hopefully nothing crashes it, that's what's really going to save it.
Money in this environment. And it seems, even when we ran our very unscientific poll on our show Twitter account, what is most concerning to you right now? Is it prices? Is it employment? Overwhelming majority said it's interest rates coming down. So do you believe that this is the case, that we're going to see several cuts by the end of the year?
Absolutely. Everything changed on Friday morning at 8:30 when those job numbers came down and those revisions came down.
Like those job numbers, again, the job numbers here are best in the history. That's why XRP rose so much.
Because right at that point, the consensus was September, there's maybe a 30% chance of a rate cut. Overwhelmingly, everyone sees that. Now, if you talk about 4, that means there's going to be at least 150 basis point cut. That starts to add a sense of urgency. That really tells you, by the way, if the Fed has to do...
Like 0.75 would like pump the markets, 23%, 15%, who knows? The most important factor is people have been waiting for rate cuts for a long time now. And with no change, it really makes you think like XRP could be heading for another rally when these get, announced. So there's going to be so many things in September that I'm excited about for XRP.
That will really be so damning for Jay Powell, because his position, anytime they have to do more than 25 basis points, it means that they're behind, right? It will sort of cement the notion that, Jay Powell was late yet again. And to your point, why do so many people care? This is what makes me so angry with the Federal Reserve. They always look at us as a whole nation. Small businesses, we have to refinance under these higher rates this year. Many can't do it. They can't make payroll. So you have small businesses that are hurting. You have individuals that are hurting. We just got a couple days ago from the New York Fed delinquency rates. All of them are spiking.
The reason why they didn't change it and why XRP still pumped is very powerful. So this is the main reason why they didn't change it, is for a very simple reason. They didn't feel like there's a need to change it. Because look at what exactly what happened. They didn't change it and the market still pumped. Now that means bullish to me. The market still pumped after no change. So yeah, XRP has way more potential than we can imagine if it goes up after the no change rate cuts. And Jerome Powell is waiting for more data. So I don't blame him. Like, a lot of people want to see the markets pump. Everybody loves to see the markets pump. But Jerome Powell survived literally 2 recessions, which is what a lot of people don't realize, is how important it is to actually go ahead and, say, let's take a step back, let the markets recover a bit, and then go for another rally before we enter a full-on recession from that.
This has been my thought process along the way as well. I keep telling you guys that the CME group is the one to watch for any Fed rate cut decision. 38 days away, 88.9% chance of a rate cut in September. October, 96% and 99.3% in December. We are going to see 3 rate cuts back to back here. September, October.
3 rate cuts would be basically 3 mini rallies. So again, it's a very important factor that a lot of people don't realize.
October and December, in my opinion. This is going to cause an eruption across the board for the market. The Fed is going to cause a crazy surge here. JP Morgan just sounded the alarm. I know that we typically don't listen to what JP Morgan is telling us, but in this case, this is something that we need to listen to, because this is something that we have in front of us. We have the data in front of us. There's no
like 3 rate cuts. Again, we didn't see any rate cuts and the markets were not looking good. So 2024, Trump got elected, crypto getting approved, ETFs, all of that. Like, remember how we had 2022 drops? We could literally convert that and we beat that. We destroyed the loss. Like, the lawsuit was over and we still saw, huge growth already. So what will happen with the positive news is we might see even a further uptrend up for XRP. So I'm really excited for September. September really keeps me hopeful of exactly news like that. Not only do we have crypto bills, not only do we have ETFs, not only do we have rate cuts, we are going to probably have tons of more announcements on that plan. And there's a ton of stuff I haven't even mentioned, real world asset collaborations. There's just so much to talk about in XRP, right? And that's what really made me excited. There is tons and tons coming. So yeah, XRP is just getting started and September is going to be the big news. Ethereum and XRP holders, it's happening. Let's check this out. So what's happening for XRP right now? It is right now going up, but XRP, look at that. So Stockmo has been talking about this. XRP is over here. He is holding some XRP.
And so we hit that 4,400 mark, and we have a blowout top, and I would want to take some profit and swing trade it back in, which I normally would want to do. I can't do it. I'm stuck. In other words, and right now I don't want to get rid of anything, but if I wanted to take a little bit off the table, maybe rotate it into some Bitcoin or whatever I wanted to do, I can't do it. And
yeah, right now, seems like Ethereum is the real gainer this week. But again, when you zoom out, XRP is still the biggest winner this week, actually, even with Ethereum rising off top. So it's no matter what type of levels and what type of growth you see, it is not even close to what XRP is seeing right now. So XRP is literally growing to all-time highs.
Myself 10 years to do that too. This is my retirement account, just so you guys are wondering. And this is where I'm doing my business. So we're going to see how this goes. And I'm excited about this, to be able to share this journey with you.
So yeah, XRP right now has been at the 3.3 momentum. I feel like because of this growth that we saw with Ethereum, what we need to see for XRP to see like 25% in one day is literally retail investors coming in. And for retail investors to come in, it's also not going to be that hard. What you need to see the retail investors come in is the main plan I think I have is like ETFs and then the government announcing these ETFs. That is the first step. Or the second step from instead of the government announcing ETFs is we could be seeing a lot of marketing promotion coming for XRP. So a lot of marketing from that side for the ETFs for people to buy and get back in crypto and telling their friends about it. So we could be seeing a same pattern that we saw in 2021. So 2021 is where a lot of people who got, basically grants, $600, $700, they put it in Bitcoin, they put it in meme coins, hoping it would grow. And that's exactly what happened. And you can see here, money starts to move around again 4 years later, just after the halving, and crypto is right back up, guys, just as I told you. So yeah, it is looking very nice still for XRP, even at this price levels. And yeah, there's still institutions haven't bought out yet, and actually corporations haven't bought any XRP yet. So most of the people who I see buying XRP now are those who have been in crypto many, many years, or at least a year.
Resistance right here. proving me right. We came up, we hit it right around that 3. I told you we needed to finish at 333 or above. We didn't last 2 days. So now when I see this, I don't panic. You know, I see the big pop up, and then what I expect is a little bit down, maybe to the 5 to 13. As it 13 and 5 are moving up, this is moving down, hit it, next leg higher, we'll get above it. That's what I think is going to happen. And so even if it takes a couple of days, I'm okay waiting. I like it. As long as we're above the 50 EMA, and that 50 EMA is at what? I can't even read that. I don't got my goggles on. 286. 286 is where we're at. So I like this above the 50 EMA. If we get below the 50 EMA and confirm, that's where bad things, man. Bad things. And so that's what I'm watching for. It's funny because
I know a lot of people are waiting for XRP to dip and drop and, you know, go below $1. But the issue is there are so many buyers right now. There's so many buyers at $1. There's so many buyers at 1.5, $2, 2.5. So yeah, realize these things before, you know, you decide, well, XRP is going great. I feel like there's more money right now. It's so easy to spend money and it's hard to buy assets, like good assets. So that's something you will notice over time is money is much easier to get in this economy, which it was much harder in 2022. That's why people are stocking up on XRP. They're buying massive supplies of XRP. And it's just going absolutely insane because of that. So yeah, this is the big update we have right now. So hey everyone. So yeah, definitely very good for XRP that even at this level, like at $3, people still bought it. Because 2017 at $3, people were selling it like crazy. You know, 2017 is a very different time period where people decided to sell everything at 3.26. This is the price, and they sold it off, and then they tried to get another rally at 2.7. 2.7 rally failed, sold it off. They tried to go for $2, sold it off. They tried to go to 1%, so on and so on. So now at $3, we're seeing the opposite patterns is where cryptos wouldn't get bought out, right?
I think we're going to go all the way back up to 360 very quickly. So I think it's a quick 10%. And so I don't mind doing those moves, selling high, buying low, you know, all that good stuff. So that's what we're seeing. And then finally, Bitcoin, I want to give everybody an idea of that update. Same situation where we're hitting this resistance here at roughly 117.5. You're coming back down. We hit the 513, coming back up a little bit. And we're going to see if we can push back up. Once we get above this 117.5 and we can confirm, you should be able to go back up here and start retesting some of these candles up at 120 and above.
So yeah, just remember when you look at the previous price charts, like I'm going to sell at 2017, just remember it is never going to be same in crypto. Crypto is moving so fast in such a fast pace that it is not going to be easy to go these same patterns. Again, you know, it's literally insane how a crypto can go from 50 cents to $3.4. But guys, anything is possible nowadays. And remember, I love you all. You need to stay safe. If you want more videos, check out my channel. Links in the description, links to the chat. Everywhere, links are everywhere. I'm going to stop streaming now. Thank you for smashing that like button. I'll be live tomorrow or someday because I have been streaming for 3 hours and it's time to edit some videos. So yeah, remember, you matter. I love you for joining the stream. I've been streaming for 3 hours and this is it for now. Peace out.